O Show. This is the Big 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 O Show.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
Oh, great. You have a doorbell camera. Now you have a front row seat to your house getting robbed.
They're breaking into my house!
Ooh, there goes the TV. I'm sure it'll turn up at the pawn shop.
No, not the TV!
Just because you can see them, that doesn't mean you can stop them. With Slogans, you get 24-hour monitoring, a free home security system, and professional installation. Plus, free doorbell camera, one that'll actually work for you.
Get out of my house!
Get out of the house! Call 1-800-ALARM-ME.
When presenting an award to an employee, athlete, executive, or fantasy GM, make sure you call Orvieto's Awards and More. For 35 years, these custom award specialists have been providing plaques, trophies, custom framing, while providing state-of-the-art laser and computerized engraving, UV printing, and glass crystal etching. They do all their engraving and printing in-house for quality control. Call Charles at 305-949-8098 or visit them at orvietosawards.com. Orvieto's Awards and More, where recognition is rewarding.
Welcome to Caneswear. New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, Caneswear has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. Caneswear, the spot Miami fans shop.
Welton Rayom has more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes. They're committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. Call them for a free consultation. 954-966-4646. At Welton Rayom, they don't get paid unless you win. Property damage claims to your home, business, or condo as a result of a hurricane. Welton Rayom can help. Water, mold, fire, smoke damage, Welton Rayom can help. Call 954-966-4646.
jamming, and I really like jamming too. Yo, this is Steve Marley, yo. And on May the 4th, I'll be in Immokalee at the Seminole Casino Hotel with the legendary Inner Circle. See? We see you there. Rastafari love. And I'm jamming with you, yeah. Jamming, yeah. And I'm jamming too, yeah.
The viewpoint statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
All right, baby. Yeah. She used to be an iron horse 20 years ago. Used to bring the mail to me through the ice and snow. I sat alone and watched her streaming through the night. 90 tons of thunder lighting up the sky. She was the princess of the night. I saw the writing on the wall. I'm sorry, I just enjoyed my Saxon last night. Once I moved a couple of rows back. By the way, I've been to the new Parker a couple of times now and always have a great time. Great place. You guys did an awesome job with the remodeling. But a concert snob. Parker. Folks out there, the Lillian Wells, whatever, when you do these kind of things, South Florida, wherever you're at, if you're constructing somewhere where you're going to do music, invite me. Call me over. Tell me, oh, what do you think about the acoustics? What do you think about how we place all our speakers? Trust me. Talk to me. I can help you. I can guide you. So this is, I believe this is the maybe fourth time I've been to the remodeled Parker. First time I sat front row. Let me explain something to you. Do not ever go to the Parker and sit in the first couple of rows. Do you know why? The speakers are behind you. You don't get to hear the singer clearly. And so I'm sitting there and I'm going, this doesn't sound right, dude. Like, I can hear the singer, and because I know Uriah Heep and Saxon so well, like, I know the words to a lot of the songs, so I can see the guy singing. I can hear it in the distance, you know, but I don't hear it. So I had to go, like, 10 rows back. Luckily, there were some seats, and so I bought front row. But I sat in the back halfway through the concert because I was like, I can't hear the singer. The mix is terrible. They put the what's the speakers they call, like, where the voice comes out? It's not just speakers. It's what's the word I'm looking for? God damn it. Anyway, somebody help me out and bail me out on that. So if you go to the Parker, do not waste the money. I get you get to be up front, and I'm watching 60-year-old men. I'm not, if it's Beyonce, I don't need to hear her voice. Yeah, I want to be in the front row. Yeah, I want to be in the front row. Of course I want to be in the front row. But, Biff and the boys, I'm all right in the 10th row, dude. It's all good. I don't need to see your wrinkles up front. Nobody wants to see me. I have a face for radio. So, it's like Sean, like, hey, let's go YouTube. I'm like, really? Do I have to torture people? But, we're here. We're torturing you. So just in case, just a little tip, if you're going to ever get tickets to the Parker, it is poorly designed. In the first couple of rows, you will not be able to hear the vocals the right way. Okay? Now, if you're this big fan of the band and you need to be up close and, you know, whatever, and maybe you get to shake hands or you get the set list or, you know, whatever you want to see the guitarist or the drummer or whatever up close, then yeah, okay, cool. That's why I get it. I get up front because I love to see all the nuances of everything playing, everything going on, the singer, the guitarist, the bassist. I like to know if they're left-handed, right-handed, if they're using a four-string, five-string bass, 6-string, 12-string guitar, what kind of guitar they're using for this, for that. He uses a Fender for this. He uses just straight-out Gibson. He uses just straight-out Yamaha. You know, I'm a geek like that. So I kind of look at all this stupid shit that goes on that the average fan probably doesn't. You know what I mean? So that's why I like being up close, because I like the whole feel of understanding the band too. Kind of like when I watch sports, I want to understand what's going on in the games and all that kind of stuff. So, but at the Parker, don't do it. Don't do it. That's all I can tell you. Don't do it. So, you know, it's just one of those deals. But anyway, what a great night it was last night. That was fun. And then I got to see the Panther game after. Got home, got the bags, stayed up. Because it just wasn't just about watching the Bob highlight. I was like, I gotta watch this shit, you know. That was amazing last night. And, you know, it's like what I was telling you. Like, we have gotten to a point with Bob that we don't trust him, right? And there was like this little stretch towards the end of the season that was kind of bad. And it was like, wow, dude, you know. And yet, as I've mentioned, he's played well enough to win the Vezina. So we have to kind of like, the word we love to use on this show, compartmentalize. We have to compartmentalize all the other seasons for Bob and all that kind of stuff, and just realize that the dude's just on a roll right now. You know what I mean? And what he did last night, you realize this, okay? That was the greatest save in Panther history. Panther history. That says a lot. Because Beezer had some moments, man, like a ton of them. But I'm going to be consistent, because that's what we try to be on this show. If you listen every day, as I tell you, the Heat has accomplished a lot lately, but it's fluky, right? Let's be honest. It's fluky. It's overachieving. You're really not that good. You're never really going to win a title. Maybe the first year in the bubble that everything kind of, it was a situation that people mentally weren't all in it. And they, being trapped in one place for a couple of months is tough. Trust me, being trapped in a bed for a couple of months, that alone is tough. So I get it. I had to do it. You know what I mean? And I kind of I psyched myself out and I said, well, if I'm going to do this, then let me do something productive while I'm on my ass. Let me fast and let me lose weight. Do something weird on a bed. Kind of like, that's kind of what you have to psych yourself out, right? So the Heat kind of psyched themselves out and they were focused and they came together. Other teams couldn't, all that. The injuries really kind of hurt them because they were in such a groove. They maybe could have beaten the Lakers that year, So that 1 year, and again, flukish. Pandemic, you're stuck in a bubble, this, that, the environment, the Heat culture kind of fits all that because they bring their teams together no matter where they're at, in a bubble or out of it. You know what I'm saying? But outside of that, it's kind of still been flukish. Even last year without Giannis and all that, flukish. Not really. Well, guess what? When the Panthers and Beezer got to the Stanley Cup, what was it? It was flukish. It doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It can happen. It can be flukish also. It's not really, it's part of Heat culture. that you got a bunch of scrubs and you go 10-31 and then you go 31-10. That's Heat culture. I'm sorry. That's kind of been going on forever here since Pat Riley took over. He takes over the first year and they went to 41-41, I think it was. And I'm telling you, I lived it. I covered it. It's one of his greatest coaching seasons ever because of everything that was going on in the transition and everything just to get them. It was part of the culture that was being established. Oh, Zoe goes down with the kidney ailment. No, F that, bro. We're going to go get Mason. We're going to fight our way back. We're going to get 50 wins. Unfortunately, Riley made a mental error there where he inserted Zoe back where he shouldn't have. And that's because Zoe's a franchise player and all that out of respect. And, they've done that a little too much over the years. That's where he had to bring Zoe off the bench and keep going with Mason. But he lost Mason and Zoe wasn't ready. So it was a terrible decision on Riley. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the whole Tyler bullshit that we went through the last couple of years. Oh, my God. Oh, his feelings. If we bring him back off the bench, his feelings, dude. It's what's best for the team. It's what you earn. You didn't earn it, bro. You're not a starter. That's not who you are. You're not an anchor. You're a six-man type. You're a buckets guy. That's it. That's all you are. That doesn't mean that never was a starter in this league. That means you're Vinnie Johnson. That means you're the guy from the Clippers for many years. Now he's bounced around. What's his name? That's what that means. That's what he is. Doesn't mean you're a starter. And we worry about feelings and all that kind of stuff. So fluky. That's all it was. And nothing fluky about this now. Nothing fluky about this. What Bob did last night is what Verhaeghe's been doing. Speaking of Tyler, hey, Sean, you remember the conversation we had on the show? I don't know, maybe, what was it, a year and a half ago? And I was messing with Ira and, because Tyler, I think, was fresh off six-man. And I go, I don't care about six-man. I'd rather have Verhaeghe over Tyler. You remember that conversation? How many of you remember that conversation? Verhaeghe over Tyler. And some of you were like, oh, I'll take Tyler. Those of us that really follow sports and really know a player's heart and determination and really production. Verhaeghe tiene cojones for the last 3 years. 24, 42, and 34 goals. Assists 31, 31, and 38. And plays all the time. Tyler Hero can't sniff Carter Verhaeghe's jock. He's not allowed in the same stratosphere as Verhaeghe because Verhaeghe is a star. Okay, problem is or other stars on the team. The Heat have no stars. The Panthers are loaded with stars. I'm not even including the goalie. Hell, I might include the other goalie too. I might just include the other goalie. Throw him in there too as a star almost. But, I can't. But this ain't flukish, bro. This is real. This is real. This Panther team is deep. It's got stars up the ass. Kachuk and Reinhardt and Barkov and Bob. And, Tarasenko's a little older, but Tarasenko is Ray Allen, is Shane Battier. Tarasenko is adding a guy that just was a star and has star in him still. He's just a little older, but when, it's one of those kind of guys. Tarasenko is like Ray Allen, dude. Same shit. He's not Bosch, LeBron, and Wade, but he's Ray effing Allen. Okay? And Tarasenko is the same thing. Same thing. This team is low. And Bennett got injured yesterday. I love Bennett, too. Hope he's all right. But it just, wow. This team is the real deal, dude. This is not a fluke. at all. This is embrace the hell out of this. Okay? This is fun. And by the way, Marlins, are you watching? You little bunch of wusses. I'm not talking about the players. I'm talking about, the league, the ownership. This is what happens in this town. You need to first make the commitment. We don't just show up for you, dude. And the Panthers, they didn't whine. They didn't point fingers. At no point did Viola and Sifu ever point fingers at anybody. Nowhere. They didn't say no. They didn't cry. Oh, people aren't showing up, aren't coming to our game. That's the bullshit you hear from the Marlins all the time. Dude, you don't earn shit. So you want her to marry you, but you don't have a job? You want her to marry you, but you can't even open the door for her? You can't treat her like a lady? You can't tell her you love her all the time, but you want her to marry you? That's interesting. I love that. So you're asking me to say yes, Marlins, but you give me no sex in bed. How am I going to say yes? You don't cook. You're not willing to work. Relationships go both ways. You're not understanding. You're just one way. Not the Marlins. Not the Panthers. No, the Panthers make love to you. Panthers bring you presents. Panthers will open the door for you. Panthers will say nice things. You look nice today. Panthers will cook for you. They do it all. There's a smorgasbord. So you want to marry the smorgasbord. He has a job. She is loving. It's a beautiful thing when relationships, they come together. Dolphins haven't been able to get over the hump, but they're constantly wooing you. They make the stadium incredibly beautiful. They trade for great players. They have drafted great players. They're building. They're trying. They try over and over and over and over and over again and over again and over again. And if they Gus Farad it right into the wall, youngins, go ahead and go look up Gus Farad wall. If they Gus Farad it into the wall, they shake it off, and they're back at it. They don't cry. They don't whine. They don't point fingers. They continue. They have a heavy community involvement. Dolphins don't give up. The Heat, always trying. Unfortunately, right now, they're not. They're constantly hitting singles and doubles. They're not really hitting home runs anymore. That's been a problem for them the last decade, unfortunately. They don't really hit a lot of home runs, but they are trying. They are trying. They're still a 300 hitter. They're Tony Gwynning the bitch all over the place. That's the Heat right now are Tony Gwynning the bitch all over. Pack, pa, boom. That's it. There's no Ohtani here. Ohtani's over in Sunrise. Ohtani's at Sunrise, where they're pitching and hitting. They're doing it all. They're the complete package right now. Everybody's looking. I'm going, whoa, that's the complete package right there. Up in Lauderdale, they're free spending, free wheeling, still not really doing it all right, but, they're like the dangerous guys. Inter Miami is like Maverick, early part of Top Gun. That's right. He's dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes he'll leave his wingman. That's where Inter Miami is at. Inter Miami's still kind of like leaving. He's early Maverick leaving the wingman. The Panthers aren't, they don't leave the wingman. They stay there. They take care of it. They take care of all the MIGs. They move on. They're a little bit more steady right now. Inter, they're a little crazy. They just got to kind of zone in a little bit more right now. That's our landscape. So Marlins, watch the Panthers. You want to learn how to come up from the bottom and win your fan base over and convince them and make love to them, cook for them, marry them. This is what you do. This is what you do. All right. I got a loaded show for you today once again. Let's see. Jeremy Fowler, ESPN, set to join us at 10:30. We will have Matt Verderame joining us at 11. Kyle Krabs will stop by at noon. So we got a lot of people joining us today, a lot of fun. What do I see here? Oscar Rojas, is he number one in the sun? Yes, it is. Oscar Rojas. What a performance. Yes, by Bob last night. Yep. Amazing. Steven Gonzalez. Loving the performance also by Bob. He got chills. Steve Chapman is in. Steven Cosa Nostra. Anticipation for tomorrow's draft is Christmas-like. Yes, sir. I'm going to talk a little bit about something that I really, it's so good for the Dolphins. We'll get into it. Crypto Fins is in. Yeah, the save by Bob was the greatest save in Cats history. Greatest save ever. No doubt, because it means a lot. This is the real deal, man. NorCal is in. He's counting down. Brian Walters is in, reminding everybody to smash the like button, hit the notification bell. Yes, sir. Subscribe. Morning O, ETH ETFs, they're coming. They're coming. And by the way, if Bitcoin hits 74,000, which it will, it's about to pop. Hash rate is an all-time high. That means transactions and security, everything is at all-time high. Prices follow hash rates all the time in Bitcoin. It is ready to pop, dude. Ready to pop for the next level to like 90 grand, maybe more. But 8 billion if when it hits 74, not if, when it hits 74,000, 8 billion in shorts will be liquidated, which will then catapult it even more after that. So be prepared. As I keep telling you, keep DCAing here during this dip. 73.7 is the peak. That's why 74 is that threshold for the shorts. So you've got that. That is, to me, and there's a whole bunch of other things. I mean, the IMF warned the U.S. a week and a half ago. You guys got to stop your spending. It's completely getting out of control. You're because they've reached the point of no return with our deficit. And what do? They go past $100 billion war package for multiple countries. So, I can only tell you so much. I can only lead a horse to water. It's up to you to drink it. Not a financial advisor, just looking at what's clearly going on and what these idiots are doing and just crazy ass spending. So anyway, Oscar Rojas says we have a chance with Spo. Yeah, there's no doubt. Spo's a beast. Giovanni in, Alex Palenzuela. Yeah, the save by Bob was amazing, Alex, no doubt. Chad is in. Oscar Rojas, you sound like a Viking. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I'll take that. I'll take it as a compliment. That's a compliment right there. Just sounding like anything. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Stetson O. Steven says, not trying to tell you what to do, cough, cough, Frank. I'm not trying to get banned, but you need to give Bob the MVP of the night right away. Oh, yeah, he's getting the Cutter's Edge Pro MVP of the night. He's getting it. There's no doubt. It's like that's the easiest Cutter's Edge MVP Pro of the night that we've ever had. It's definitely going to be Bob. You know what I'm saying? It certainly ain't going to be a Marlin. Gordon Shumway, Manolo Rivera, Giovanni, Adam Sadowski. Nico says, good morning. How about them Panthers? Josh Greenwell. What old lineman do you like at 21? We will talk about that today. Anthony Campos, loving that Bobby save. Big O, you have a face for YouTube for sure. Oh, God. I feel bad for you guys. Drago, Luis Benito says, Greer has put us in a position to draft the best player available, and going off of that, I would probably swing the fences, select Amarius Mims, a potential 99 overall left tackle for Tua. Look, man, I have zero issues with offensive linemen. And knowing what's going to happen with Tehran, and you still like guard. While Wynn played well, he had the injury, and he's had some injuries in the past. So you don't know about the durability, and you just lost Hunt. So, I don't mind getting a guard too, I don't want to get into the whole conversation. Let me do that at its proper time, and I'll break everything down and give you my thoughts on all of that. But we're going to definitely talk about that and many other things, obviously. Salute from Tijuana. Thank you, Psychologic. I appreciate you. EM Baller. Anthony Campos got hit with COVID this week. Need to laugh. Who do you choose to go with? Vegas for a 4-day weekend with Rodman, Antonio Brown, or Lawrence Taylor? Again, you're trying to kill me. You already asked me this, bro. I already answered it. Told you I'm going to go with Rodman. That way I don't have to pay attention to him. The other two guys might get me arrested. Plus, if I'm in the same room with Antonio Brown, there's a good chance I'm going to want to choke him and kill him. So, or he's going to kill me. One of the two. But there's no way I would tolerate people like Lawrence Taylor's going to want to be going for minors. Like, you're making me repeat what I already freaking did before. Do you know how, I hate repeating myself, right? Eddie? I know you are hardcore, but I don't like repeating myself. I already did this. My go-to is my 4-string Fender Jazz bass. Very versatile, but I need to throw down on metal. It's a 5-string LTD ESP all day. Oh, see, Chad? But you're a musician. You're like at another level than me. You know what I'm saying? Like you're way higher than I am in the intelligence factor of all of that. But as a fan geek, I would look at that. I would notice what you would do in one song for another and what sound you want to get out of a guitar or a bass or whatever it is. It's kind of like that. So I am that idiot. You know what I'm saying? You do it because you're a professional. But I'm the fan that I'm one of those few fans that's there in the front looking at that kind of stupid shit. You know what I'm saying? And it means nothing to like 98% of the people that I would talk to. You know what I mean? Maybe my buddy Greep is the only guy that's at that level that I could talk to. Maybe Pat in Asheville. Pat is another one of those guys that's very, very keen on watching everything going on because I've been to it with him to concerts and talk with him music. So it's very few fans that are kind of like that. You know what I mean? You were that fan before you were the musician. You know what I'm saying? Right? So I never got to that point where you're at. I'm way below you. But yeah, that's definitely it. Definitely it. Let's see. Gus is in the house. Devin Jordan, morning Slim O. Hell of a win. Yes, sir. GP Trap is in. GP Trap. I was actually wearing your hat yesterday, GP Trap. I was wearing your Inter Miami hat yesterday. Thank you, sir. Hope you and the family are well, GP Trap. Brian Landis, Lenny Pena. Let's see. Heat or cooked. Hopefully after this year, they'll finally make some major change. It'll be hard to make changes with the Heat, man. They're kind of stuck with those contracts. Jay Gelfin, wishing a wonderful Wednesday to all. Bob is on the run. The Panthers are going to ride him to the cup. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. The fun part is, it's not like the Super Bowl that you have to travel. At least you're you're going to have 3 or 4 games at home for the Stanley Cup. So that's the fun part. You know what I'm saying? So, you can have your shot at maybe buying a pair of tickets or a ticket and go see a Stanley. I got to do it back in the 90s. You guys got to do it. You got to do it. Let's see. I know it's early, Big O, but can we consider lighting up a Perdomo cigar for the cats? Let's do it. Let's give the cats a victory cigar. All right. Let's see. Let me okay. All right. Let's send Jeremy a reminder because I know he's going at 1,000 miles an hour. All right, let's do this. Don't forget, folks, we are giving away a pair of tickets to go see Stephen Marley Saturday, May 4th. You saw the promo right before we came on. Stephen Marley is going to the Seminole Casino in Immokalee, and he'll be there Saturday, May 4th. We're giving away a pair of tickets this Friday, so send me your full name, your email address, and your cell number. And if you want to go, remember it's in Northern Palm Beach County at the Seminole Center Outdoor. And Steven's got a new album. It's called Old Soul. 8-time Grammy Award winner Bob Weir, Eric Clapton, Jack Johnson, Ziggy Marley are all on this record. He also does some deep classics from the Beatles, from Ray Charles and Frank Sinatra. So Stephen Marley is a legend. Check him out. Seminole Casino Hotel in Immokalee, Saturday, May 4th. All right. It is time to go to my man, Jeremy Fowler. Let's do it. ESPN, talk a little Miami Dolphins draft, NFL draft overall, NFL nuggets, all kinds of stuff. Good morning, my brother. How are you doing?
What's up, Big O? Always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure, man. Thank you for taking the time. I know your ass is busy as hell, dude. So it's just crazy stuff. Hey, let me start on a side note. I've been following myself the Odell Beckham stuff, and I know there's nothing imminent, but my question is, what is Miami competing against? Because from what I'm hearing is there aren't a lot of big offers or anything on the table for him. So I don't think Miami is competing with a lot. What have you heard? That's the part I don't know. What's competing against Miami? Because there must not be a lot if he hasn't made a decision, because it seems to me like he and his agent are waiting for something to fall, some desperation to fall from the sky or something.
Well, that's typically the case. When a player's waiting it out, he's just sort of sifting through whatever offers exist. And if something's going to come that's bigger, so the strategy is probably after the draft. Let's see what shakes out. And if the offers get a little larger, I do know there are 2 other teams that are involved. So Miami's one of 3 teams. That's what I was told. I don't have the other teams handy, but I know there are 3. Yeah. So, Miami's in a position where they're trying to be fiscally responsible. They're trying not to overspend, but they do want them. So I think they're figuring that that patience will pay off. But that does leave room for somebody else to sneak in and get him too. So, it's not a situation like last year where he's going to get $15 million a year. That just doesn't seem to be there based on the production of late. So, we'll see. I still think Miami's the favorite, but they got to get it done.
Yeah. And the whole, I think after the draft, that might settle in. Yeah. Because then somebody doesn't get the speed receiver they're looking for. And then they say, well, then let's try Odell for a year. And so that might be kind of what he and his agent are waiting for, to see how everything shakes out. Because as you know this better than anybody else, you follow this all the time, the next wave of free agents starts after the draft, after they have not been able to fill, certain needs. The guys that are left, they're going to fill those kind of holes that those teams need. So that's why, because I can't figure out who else is out there. I heard it's not much. I heard it's not like, a bunch of teams are lined up. And I also heard that it wasn't much, the offers weren't much different than what Miami is offering. So I'm wondering what's that has to be, we're waiting for, everything else. And the Xavier Worthy thing, I don't believe for 1 second with the needs Miami has on the O-line and the D-line that Worthy is not even a consideration in the first round?
I'd be surprised. They love speed, so I wouldn't totally discount it. But I think they've been looking pretty hard at edge rusher. Teams like talked to believe Miami's been looking hard there. I don't think they would go with Latu, the UCLA pass rusher, because he's got a neck issue in the past, which most teams don't have a problem with. But Miami's situation is specific, right? Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, both hurt. You can't take another player with an injury history really at that spot. So, they'll look around. There are 4 or 5 good ones, probably 4 good ones that will go in the first round. After that, there's a drop-off. So if you need one, first round's the time to get it. So really offensive tackle is really trendy right now. Teams I talked to, pretty zeroed in on that position. It could be 7 offensive tackles taken in the first round, and Miami might be one of them.
Yeah, no, to me, because there's actually some D tackles in the second round. And so they could actually fill their offensive tackle need. And actually, they're lucky. And Jeremy, the way everything worked for them at 21, they love versatile linemen. There's like several guys that can play guard tackle. They could even take a center that can play guard there if they wanted to go with Jackson Power Johnson and then stay with Aaron Brewer at center for the first year and have Jackson play guard and kind of learn the system, learn the calls, all of that. Plus, they're both athletic. They both can get to the second level, which is extremely important in this outside zone, especially at center. So that's something that Jackson can watch Aaron do. And a lot of people don't like Aaron because he's undersized. But the thing is, in this offensive line, the big galoot is not going to be able to move the way they want him to move. You got to be agile, blocks, and go get somebody at the next level. So they're really lucky where they're at 21 that the linemen that are there are super versatile.
Yeah, and you're going to see tackles, like true offensive tackles, go early. So if you want a combo guy, it could be there available for you when you pick. Like Troy Fontanu with Washington might be a fit because that's a guy that you can start at tackle, but probably is the best guard in the draft.
Right.
If he ends up playing there, the Oregon guard center could be an option. Like that, you certainly can work with what you need to at that spot. Where if you're picking 30, you might not be able to get those guys. So.
By the way,
I think they're in an advantageous spot. This is a team that's had a lot of injuries up front of the O-line, kind of reestablishing their identity on defense. Like they were interesting to me in the draft or in free agency because everybody was talking about the Cowboys and how they didn't spend. Well, the Dolphins scaled back and didn't spend a whole lot and moved on from a lot of players and said, we're going to take our medicine financially and sign some value players. Like I thought their free agency was actually pretty good based on what they did.
Well, yeah.
Getting guys kind of on the cheap or players that have already been released from other teams. So like they're in an interesting spot. So they don't have maybe the star power they had 3 months ago, but they've scaled back some spots and are now going to load up in the draft. I think they're going away from a little bit where they were a year ago or 2 years ago, acquiring stars and trades. And like now they're saying, okay, that's our window. We did that. Now we're going to pivot to more like, players that are cut. We're going to sign them because that helps us in the comp pick formula. Let's fill some needs in the draft. Let's go responsible. Let's get Odell Beckham for however many million a year. That wouldn't be very much. Like they're in an interesting spot. So I think they'll return more to like a traditional team building this year.
Well, let me give you the macro because I don't live in the micro on this show. Because the micro makes you panic about shit that really is not in the macro. What they did was these next 2 years, this year, next year, they hit a shitload of picks.
Yeah.
They said, we're not signing this wave. We're going to sign Tua and the wave that's next.
Yeah.
Because he signs pass rushers, corners, tackles, quarterbacks, and number 1 wide receiver. That's what Greer signs and gives money to.
Yeah.
Plus give money to Holland, right? And then after next year, they go through the 2 years where they spent trading away picks for Jalen Ramsey, for Tyreek, and all that. And all they have are second-day picks. They don't really have so they'll go through 2 years where they won't have to have a whole bunch of guys that they have to sign. And then that's when their picks, like next year, they got a bunch of picks. So then the cycle starts again. That's kind of what they're doing. So the macro is You can't sign everybody. Let's go to next year. And then the other thing I was going to tell you that I thought was actually cool that a lot of people aren't thinking of, again, macro.
Yeah.
They got Austin Jackson on a multi-year deal. If you look at how athletic he is, the guys that are going to be available around 21, they're probably more right tackles. So what you end up doing is playing him a guard early, moving him to right tackle. And guess who goes to left tackle? Austin Jackson on a right tackle salary. So to me, that's, I think, their macro outlook of what it's. But, the fan panics and thinks, oh, it's a cap crisis. And no, dude, it's just there are tough decisions that you have to make and players you have to let go. And then the other thing is Jordan Brooks, better than the linebacker you let go. Fuller, better than the older corner you let go. And in the draft, you got to try to replace Wilkins. That's going to be the trick.
Yeah, that's a situation where there's a lot of you load up for a couple of years, and you're going to have to take your medicine 1 year. That's the Bucs did that last year, and they remain competitive. So that's kind of how it goes. It's pretty clear they're going to pay the quarterback, and everything works around there. Which, however you feel about him, he won 11 games and stayed healthy and threw for 4,600 yards. That gets you paid. So you're going to have to pay him $50 million a year, whatever it is. That's just the market now, and they got to work around that. And it seems like they're willing to do that. So you make concessions. The Austin Jackson signing is interesting because I think they decided early on, months ago, that we're not going to be able to sign Robert Hunt. The money's going to be too obscene. So they went with Jackson, the more affordable option. So they've been getting ahead of things pretty good. And I think they did a pretty good job, all things considered, in March and April.
Are you a Tua guy?
Am I a Tua guy?
Are you a believer? I'm a believer. To me, I laugh at Dolphin fans. It's like, dude, since Marino left, when have you had a quarterback in the MVP conversation the last 2 years? Are you kidding me? He figured out how to stay healthy last year. Get rid of the damn ball. All his injuries were between 3.85 and 5.1 seconds. Don't hold on to the ball. You'll die in this league. Get rid of it. He got rid of it. He lived the entire season fine. I don't get I get he's not perfect yet, but he's good, bro.
He's a very good quarterback. So if that's, I don't know if I'm a Tua guy per se, where he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. I don't really believe that.
Do you believe he's a franchise? Can you win a Super Bowl?
He's close, and he is a franchise quarterback. Yeah, if you accept his limitations, then you can appreciate his strengths. He's got a lot of strengths. Like the fact that he's accurate. He gets rid of the ball. He's got great touch on the ball. He's probably more mobile than people think. Things like that can really pay off. Don't love the playoff game, in the cold where you need like a marquee guy, big, strong guy who can get it done. He didn't quite get it done. But that's just one game, and he's made progress, and maybe he can do that next year, and get over the hump that way. So certainly you can win with him, no doubt. And you have to pay him.
Jeremy, before we wrap it up here, Jared Verse, I freaking love him, dude.
Yeah.
There's no chance he lasts to 21, right?
I think there's a chance of that. I would predict he goes top 20, but he's an acquired taste, I would say. A team has to love him, and he's a very good player, but he's more, some teams look at him more as an inside guy a little bit. So if you don't want that and you want a true pass rusher, then maybe you pass on him, So I think the range I have for him is probably right above Miami, somewhere in that top 20, but you never know. Yeah, I think Chop Robinson could be there too. Like one of those 4 guys will be there. That's the thing. There should be there. That's a good thing for Miami.
A lot of people I talk to love Chop Robinson, man. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those. They think like he hasn't even hit his upside. It's one of those things that they talk about with Chop. Is that what you're hearing too?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's apparently he's really high character. Yeah, he's got the great athleticism. There's certain, if you're making an upside play, he's certainly up there. And he gets mocked to the Bucs a lot at 26. I don't know the Bucs know for sure whether he's going to be there at 26 or not.
So let me tell you, in the second round, I love one more thing before I let you go. Okohu, whatever from Clemson. Yeah. What have you heard from him? Because if they get the offensive lineman in the first round, that's the guy that I want to replace Christian Wilkins, because I think that guy is a monster in the making. Like he is scratching the surface.
Yeah. I mean, it'd certainly be a good day two option. I don't know his exact scouting report as far as where he's going or what teams are heavy on him, to be honest. But that makes sense. They got to fill that spot. That's one, going back to the free agency, that's one I do think they should have handled a little better. The franchise tag wouldn't have been that bad, you know. Looking now, they had to scale back a lot of money, but I feel like they should have worked that out. That's just me.
This one happened last year, not this year.
Yeah.
Last year they decided they weren't paying him.
They did.
They don't look at him as a real pass rusher. And in the end, that's what he's going to pay. He's going to pay pass rushers. Go look at his 9 sacks. Most of them are against bad teams, and he got them in multiple games against bad teams. It was kind of like the perfect storm for him last year. So crazy stuff. All right, what do you got going on this week? Where you going, bro? You
locked and loaded. Yeah, we'll be here in Connecticut following the draft and doing some studio stuff and just reporting on things as we go. So it should be fun.
All right, good stuff, man. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at JFowlerESPN. Jeremy, thank you for taking time on a busy week, my brother. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Thanks, Big O. Appreciate it, man.
Baby, be good. There you go. Jeremy Fowler, ESPN. Good dude, man. I've known him for a long, long time. Before he was at ESPN, was it CBS? I want to say it was at CBS. What paper was he in? Because I've known him on his climb up, and he is all over the place on ESPN. Really, really good dude. Appreciate Jeremy Fowler. We will have Matt Verderame joining us at the top of the hour. I wanted to see if he had anything more on Odell, because that's the thing I can't find out. Like, I know all the stuff on the Miami side. I cannot find out who are the other teams involved in it. But the one thing I do know about it is they're not asking for much. They're not offering much, that is. I'm sorry. So that's the one thing that I do know. But it's just strange stuff, man. Strange stuff. I wanted to see. A little dip here for Bitcoin. 60. Well, it's at 65 right now. So there we go. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. Take advantage. Final washout. What else do we have here? I was checking the other day, and Ogba's still available as a free agent out there. He doesn't fit, brother. He doesn't fit what they're doing here. So you can't. Let's see. Yeah, no, it's not a big tight end class. Somebody asking there. Yes, he did work at CBS. But I know him from even before CBS. I think he was in the paper. I forgot. It was so long ago now. I have to go back. I don't even know if I can find it or whatever. No doubt says the effort on that save by Bob last night was inspired. Literally diving save. Yeah, that was just crazy, bro. Crazy. Brian says, I'm an Ibanez guy, both acoustic and electric guitars. Haven't played any shows in ages, though. Good for you, Brian. Let's see. Hit my target weight of 205. I'm 6'4". I'm 53 years old. All thanks to Wegovy. Stuff works, man. Wegovy. What is Wegovy? Is that like a food service or something? What is Wegovy? Weight loss program. Oh, prescription medication. I got you. Yeah. I'm gonna keep doing it the natural way, but I appreciate it. However you want to do it is cool. I get it. I've lost weight before. My problem is not losing the weight. My problem is keeping it off. And so I have to stick to what I'm doing now, where I'll cheat and I'll treat myself, but I no longer, even when I cheat, example, I went a couple of weeks ago, I went to have a pizza. I had one slice. Now they're Steve's, so they're big slices, but it's just one slice. Sliced it up in a couple pieces, ate it, done. I didn't eat 3 slices. You see what I'm saying? And so that's kind of like, even when I cheat, the portions, unless it's at Chico's where you can't, I tell them, hey, just give me half the palomilla, and then I'm going to do that. So I can't do that. I could eat half the palomilla and leave it there, but it's too torturous. I'm not going to leave a palomilla from Chico's just sitting there. But most of the time, I try not to abuse the portions. And that's the dangerous part. This is why we gain all that weight. Because instead of me having 1 donut, I have 3 donuts. So just have the 1 damn donut and don't eat donuts every day. Don't eat donuts every day. I've had 1 dandy donut in a couple months. So see what I'm saying? So that's kind of the way I go about it. But listen, man, if you have health issues, if you struggle to lose weight, if you have a physical ailment or whatever, I totally understand Ozempic or Wegovy. I totally get that. The one thing that I would try, if any of you do this, is a food service. That's why when you said Wegovy, is it a food service? That's the first thing I thought of, because that's kind of what I would want. But I don't know which one of these food services are really worth it and all that kind of stuff. But that's one thing that I would try, is a food service. That might be something that, or maybe there's a sponsor out there that wants to showcase it for everybody else and use me as the guinea pig. We can do that also. So if there's somebody out there, you know what? 2 guinea pigs, Sean and myself. Right, Sean? Sean will join me on this. So if there's a food service that can straighten me and Sean out, that would be a very good selling point for you out there. Because if you help us, you can help many, many other people. Let's see. So congratulations, Alex in New York. You're a freaking stud. I just want to get to 210, and I'm not 6'4", dude. I'm 6'1". I'm 3 inches shorter than you. And I just want to get to 210. I've been 195. The time I lost 80 pounds, I was 270. Yeah, I was 275. And I lost 80 pounds. And I got to 195. But that was like, I was really skinny. So I'm going to go to 210. But the key is 210 and, have muscle. Have some definition. That's the key. I got to become something like what NorCal is, a workout fiend. What else do we have here on the chat board? My home run pick on defense is Latu. I like Latu, man. 13 sacks, 13 games. Jason Taylor. Yeah, I know he has the injury history from his earlier days, but he's been fantastic the last couple of years. Everyone keeps bringing up Chop Robinson. He might be good, but he's got a ton of upside. But I hate picking up players that didn't produce in college. Yeah, well, how many UM players didn't really produce great in college and then go to Frank Gore was a shell here. We didn't get Cavalier Frank Gore. You know that, right? We didn't get Cavalier Frank Gore. The Frank Gore we had was a little overweight, and he was good, but he wasn't San Francisco or Cavalier Frank Gore. Greg Olson was solid, but we didn't get NFL Hall of Fame Greg Olson. That happens. That's happened before. Lots of players that, have upside, and they reached their upside. Jason Pierre-Paul was a total upside player. He had 1 year of production at USF. That's it. And you had to take a chance on him, and it was well worth it. So it happens. I have cases and players, you know what I'm saying? Listen, It's one of those things that you can't measure a man's heart. So it's dangerous, which is, you're right. You're totally right, because you're still projecting. And if that person doesn't have the heart and the determination to work through it, he'll never reach your expectations. So it's completely dangerous. But it's happened before. Lewis goes, donuts. Losing weight's the easy part. Well, no, it's not easy losing weight, bro. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. That's ignorant. It's very hard to lose weight. Very hard. It's not an easy thing. It's not easy to reprogram your brain if you have all the bad habits. If you've never done it, don't say that. It's not easy. It's hard. It's very hard. It's and for women, oh my God, the ladies struggle even more, dude. And as they get older, just like men, because our metabolisms and everything slow down, but women's metabolism and all that stuff, and if they get to what's that called? What's that next stage when menopause and all that? Well, dude, it just gets worse and worse for women. So never say that, dude. It's not easy to lose weight. It's hard to lose weight. It's harder to keep it off. That I'll tell you. But it's hard to lose weight. It's not an easy thing. Yeah. We're fat because we love food. Pat says, rarely drink sugary drinks anymore. Now got to kick the bread. Yeah, the bread is definitely, what I do, I eat a lot of wraps at home. I replace the bread with organic spinach wraps. That's what I replace the bread with. So when I have a sandwich, I have it with an organic spinach wrap. One, I'm getting the spinach in my system, which I needed for my iron and all that other crap. And it's healthy as hell for you. And then I'm eliminating the bread too at the same time. So I had some boar's head cold cuts. But instead of the sandwich, the wife made me the organic. She just warms it up on a pan. And so I use the organic spinach wrap, and then I put more spinach inside, and tomatoes, and a little oil and vinegar, and sometimes some peppers, and then I put some cold cuts. And so instead of having it in bread, I have it in a wrap, and it tastes great, and it's fantastic, and it's super healthy for you. And I eliminated the bread, So I get it. I love bread too, man. And we all love bread. But bread is so dangerous for you, man. It's the worst. Oh, in your opinion, what percentage of teams' success is based on the quarterbacks? God, most, but the quarterback doesn't carry you. That's see, the problem with that whole misconception is, okay, so you didn't give Mahomes a line 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever it was, and he got 3 years ago, and he got killed. So yeah, he can make all the plays for you, but you still got to do it. And then now this year, Mahomes has no shot at winning the title without Chris Jones and that secondary. They're the ones that carried the Chiefs all this year. So the quarterback has to make the plays, right? But the receivers have to catch. Offensive linemen have to block. Coach has to call the right plays. Your running backs have to be able to run the ball a lot. Your defense has to be able to make really important stops. It's a team game. Marino could make all the plays for you. But if you didn't give him the running game, you didn't give him the defense, then what the hell, then you're not going to win. So shit like that happens. There has to be a balance. We have a level of stupidity in this country on lots of things, including sports. And incredibly in football, where we have morons that think the quarterback literally carries you all the way, which it's not true. Because if I switched and I put Montana with the Dolphins and I put Marino with the Niners, then it's Marino winning all the titles. And Montana, so sorry. You didn't get there. Happens. You're Kurt Warner. You end up with the Giants and you're discombobulated in a battle with Derek Brown. You go back to Arizona, you get a real good coach, you get the people, and you're able to get back to the Super Bowl. You didn't win it because you didn't have the Rams team, but you had a pretty good team. So you had more success. It's a team game. We have a level of stupidity. And by the way, Troy Ortiz, you're fucking part of it. Now that I've realized who asked the question, you're part of those fucking morons. How do you like them apples? So after you ask the question, it's a question that buries your dumb ass because you're one of the dumbasses that thinks the quarterback carries you. And if that was the case, dickwad, Marino would have tons of titles. But most of you morons that call it that way, you watch something and you really have not learned a goddamn thing about football. You haven't learned a damn thing. This is what I said the other day on Twitter. If Tua wins the Super Bowl that Greasy won for 7 passes, Troy Ortiz idiots would be shitting all over Tua. We don't shit on Greasy. If Woodstock is Tua and gets to the Super Bowl, listen, this is how this whole world works. I'm glad Matt Verderame is next. I'm fucking glad he's next. So if Tua's Greasy and he throws 7 passes in a Super Bowl to win it, in today's world, we have morons that say, well, Tua sucks. He only had to throw 7 passes. That's how this world is now. Not then. No, he's a smart passer, all that. He's accurate. Oh, yeah, that's kind of like Drew Brees and Greasy and Tua. It's fun. It's fucking interesting. So if you're Woodstock in 82 and you get there with defense and running game and, half a quarterback on one side, half a quarterback on the other, if it's Tua, it's like, oh, well, the Killer Bees and the running game and Shula carried Tua. You see what I'm saying? And then the guy that's coming up now has the guy that's won 3 Super Bowls. But ask him what happened when Mahomes didn't have an offensive line. Mahomes can make the plays for you, but he can't fucking block for you too. Not going to block for you also. So that's the thing. It's like, it's not on Eric. It's not your quarterback that carries your entire team. He can only do what he can do. But if your coach is not good, or your offensive line is not good, or if your defense is not any good, doesn't matter, dude. That's why I told you, Kurt Warner in St. Louis and Arizona, or the Giants. Your environment means everything. It allows you to flourish. Archie Manning would have been a much better quarterback if he ended up somewhere else. And that's why he told his sons, make sure you go to the right place. And they wanted to make sure they ended up in the right place, especially Eli. And look, he ended up with 2 titles because you'd rather play for the Maras than you would rather play for the Spanos. It's just the way it goes. But it's this moronic thing that it's the quarterback carrying you and doing everything. And the Montana Marino argument was beautiful because Montana had the team, Marino didn't. So Marino could farad himself into the wall all the time, but he wasn't going to get over the hump because he didn't have that defense. He didn't have Roger Craig. He didn't have that kind of shit. So we have to get past that. The problem is in our country, we think in football in general that one guy carries you. Like this is like basketball or something, that 1 or 2 guys will carry you to a title. Oh, dude, this is football. Whole different ball game. Matt Verderame starts it off, hour number 2.
I think I know what this is. Houston, we have a package. Hello?
No matter where you are, the Sloman Shield home security system guards your home. With next-gen perimeter protection, 24/7 monitoring, and interior motion sensing. And right now, get a free Sloman Shield security system and doorbell camera all professionally installed for free.
Shield your world, the Sloman Shield.
With more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes, Welton Rayum is committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. At Welton Rayum, they don't get paid unless you win. They handle complex personal injury claims caused by the fault of another in both state and federal courts. They handle auto, trucking, motorcycle, slip and fall, and bicycle accidents. Call 954-966-4646. That's 954-966-4646. Welton Rayum can help.
More tables, more entertainment.
The viewpoint statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc., ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
Friday, there he is. It's draft week. It's Christmas in the NFL. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm still trying to peel myself off the wall from the Knicks game on Monday evening. But yeah, good. Feeling great. How are you?
I've been using your team as a nice example of, hey, it really pays off to actually try in the regular season.
Yeah, it does. Because I got to tell you, that game's in Philly. That's a foul.
Yeah.
But it's not at the Garden. So Tuesday.
Brother, shit like that happens all the time. I don't, whatever. I love the NBA's last 2-minute report. We're sorry. And what do I do with that, asshole? What do I do with that? Whatever.
There was a game earlier this year, obviously regular season game. The Knicks played the Rockets in Houston. And the Knicks had come they had a huge comeback. They tied the game. And literally as the buzzer was sounding for the fourth quarter, the end to go to overtime, I forget who it was in the Rockets. The guy just jumped into Jalen Brunson from at half court. And the Knicks started walking off the court getting ready for overtime. They called the foul and gave the guy 3 free throws. And the Knicks lost their minds. If anybody doesn't believe me, go watch it. God knows it's on YouTube.
I remember it.
They put out that 2-minute report the next day. And they're like, yeah, we screwed that up. I'm like, no kidding.
Really?
But what good does it do anybody? I would love if the NFL did that. Just put out 40 missed calls every Sunday. They're listen, we know we totally screwed you. Oops. Yeah, I never understand why the NBA does this.
Trigger congressional movement and shit like that, because that's the NFL. The Congress would get involved. Did you see that? Yeah. The Commanders got screwed. We need, whatever. It's just, I could just see that because the football, oh my God.
Especially in football where every game is unbelievably important. It'd be unbelievable. And then of course, if you're a Jets fan, you feel you got screwed and the NFL comes out you didn't get screwed, then it's a conspiracy. But the NBA's 2-minute thing, also in that 2-minute report about that specific game, there were 3 missed foul calls in the span of 5 seconds. Yeah. 1 on the Sixers, 2 on the Knicks. Somehow Maxey giving a 2-hand shove to Hart's chest right before the inbounds play wasn't a missed call somehow. The NBA is the only sport that I feel if the officials weren't on the court, nothing would change.
Brother,
that's fine. Just call your own fouls.
Brother, there's a referee dabbing up Anthony Edwards last night.
Dude, it's brutal.
Okay? I mean, come on.
It's just so bad. And I know as a Knicks fan in Game 3 in Philly, the disparity of free throws are going to be 30-10. And the Knicks are going to have to just overcome it. They want to win because it's just going to be – Maxey's going to shoot 20 free throws in that game.
And that's been going on since I was a kid.
Forever.
Since I was a kid, okay? I still remember Riley, or Jackson or whatever Celtics coach it was back in those days, complaining to the officials about this or that and getting these calls or that calls, Heat, Knicks, same bullshit. I mean, it's been going on for that's that league. That's just the way it is. By the way, as you saw the conversation, because somebody was asking me about, the whole balance of everything and how much the quarterback and, my whole problem is that we put too much. While the quarterback is important, there's no doubt he's got to make plays. But brother, he cannot overcome everything. And so if you don't have a defense, there's a good chance he's not going to overcome that because Marino couldn't overcome it. If he doesn't have an offensive line, Mahomes didn't overcome it. You know what I'm saying? So
right,
lesser quarterbacks are going to have even more trouble overcoming all that kind of stuff when the great ones have those roadblocks. You know what I mean? Like I put with like Kurt Warner, like we're looking at Kurt Warner like, brother, what happened to you? You're like lost there with Derek Brown and like it's going back and forth. It looks terrible. Aren't you the guy from the Rams? And then he goes to the Cardinals and he has an excellent offensive minded coach. And oh my God, and everything's changed. It's just I know we're quarterback centric, but I think the fan base and even certain media, I think they put way too much weight and expectation on the one guy.
I agree to an extent. I think, look, I think it's unfair when the situation around the guy is completely untenable. And, it's like, well, why doesn't he win more? Well, because the team stinks. Like, I'll give you a guy that this year I think that's coming. Dak Prescott. The Cowboys are like, oh, it's this big referendum of a year. Well, they suck around him. They just let half the team walk away. I mean, they don't suck in terms like they're not the Panthers, but like they're not as good as they were the last couple of years. Well, why would they be better? Why the hell do you think he's going to win 13 games? I mean, based on what? The Commanders are about to draft a quarterback. The Eagles, you would think, will bounce back to some extent here. The Giants might get a quarterback. Like, why are the Cowboys going to be better after they signed Eric Kendricks and nobody else this offseason? I think a lot of times, you'll look at situations and they don't get enough weight into how a guy plays. Like this draft coming up is a perfect example. If I'm a quarterback in the first round this year, I am begging to go to Minnesota. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, offensive-minded coach, Christian Darrisaw is my left tackle. I play indoors. For the love of God, let me go to Minnesota. Like, how different is J.J. McCarthy's career if he's in Minnesota or New England? It's pretty damn different. Like, in New England, you don't have any weapons, and you have a first-year defensive-minded head coach, and you're playing outside. And, like, you're in the AFC where every team has a quarterback. Situations matter. In life and in sports, they matter. There's no way around it.
By the way, just my theory, Dallas did this on purpose because they don't want to pay Dak.
Oh, I agree with you.
They're kind of setting him up because he's really not the kind of – it's just there's only a couple of guys that existed in the history of time that are just going to try to carry you and will
the whole team on their back.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to overcome everything, but they'll will you through some things. Mahomes is one of those kind of guys that can will you through some things. Like I mentioned before you came on, the year he had the offensive line, he willed you through some things, but brother, you want him to be fucking Atlas now all of a sudden? Yeah,
I'll give you. So I had to do my 10 predictions for the NFL draft. Matt asked me to do this week, and I had some fun with it. But here's my hottest prediction. I think actually might happen. Dallas is going to take quarterback in the first round. If Michael Penix Jr. is there at 24, I think they're going to do it. I do. Because what is the plan? What is the plan here? If you believed in Dak, you would already paid him. And I don't think they believe in him. He's getting to be on the other side of 30. I don't think they want to pay him. That's pretty obvious, I think, for most people to see. And I think if you're Dallas, if now, look, the board's got to fall the right way. I'm not saying I don't think they're going to make some big move up, right? But like, if Penix is sitting there at 24, I think they'll take him. I think they'll take the quarterback.
It'll become a circus. It'll become a circus for a whole year.
And if they don't take him in the first round, maybe they take like Spencer Rattler on day 2.
Okay, I can see that.
Because the idea that they're drafting, they're going forward with Trey Lance is ridiculous. That's not happening. Like,
no, that's a project. You try.
That was like, hey, we'll take a lotto ticket on the kid. Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
That is my hottest take. That if Michael Penix Jr., maybe Bo Nix is there at 24, they'll take one of them.
That would make some interesting discussions in Dallas, and the writers are going to have even more material. And every moment that Dak struggles or has a bad moment, they're going to be talking Michael Penix right away. That would make everything a little crazy, you know. What'd you think of? I mean, it was the inevitable now, because you would look like complete idiots if you didn't do it, and pretty evil. But Reggie Bush getting back his Heisman, I thought that was the least they could do, actually, considering the direction that college football is in right now.
I think if you didn't give him back his Heisman, it would be beyond embarrassing. Look, I remember that whole story from, God, what was it now, 15 years ago, when all this came out, and Jason Cole and Charles Robinson were the ones who really kind of broke all this stuff. And I am, in full disclosure, I'm very, very, very good friends with Jason Cole. He was my editor-in-chief for 18 months, covered the Dolphins forever. Yeah. Jay and I are super tight. And
Jay used to house me.
Really?
Yeah, dude, because when I first got in this business 20, 30 years ago, when I first started, like when I first got in the business as a radio guy, I'm looking around going, well, dude, writers are the only ones that travel and they break all the stories. And I go, well, how am I going to break any stories? How am I going to get anything? And so I started, QAM doesn't, so I started paying my own way to the Senior Bowl, the Combine, the East West Shrine, and all that. So when I would go, he didn't go to the East West, but he would go to the Senior Bowl, Combine. And so I would stay in his hotel the first couple of years because I didn't have the money. Yeah. So he goes, dude, I have an extra bed. And so I had to count on Jason Cole, Armando Salguero, Alex Marquez. That was kind of my foundation guys that kind of like, taught me the ropes and all that shit when I was on the road and shit like that. So I've known Jason for 30 years, dude. And
Jason's a great guy.
He's actually one of the few writers, because one of the things that people don't know about writers is most writers, since they're stuck on their beats, they don't really get to know even their own leagues, and they certainly don't know what's going on in other sports at all, pretty much, except for fucking Jason Cole.
Yeah, Jason knows everybody.
Exactly. I could talk baseball. I could talk basketball with Jason. I could talk college. Like somehow or another, Jason had time. He was one of those writers that was well-versed in everything else. One of the few writers that I've met in my lifetime that I could actually talk just all sports with him, not just one sport.
No,
so
Jason's the man. I totally changed my career. Made me.
That big head did not go to waste.
That's right. It does a giant head. Yeah, he
has a giant head, and there's a giant brain in there.
Yeah.
By the way, you know the Atkins story?
God, if I do, I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Gene Atkins. So he writes an article about.
Oh yeah, yes, I do know this story. Oh yeah.
So for those of you that don't know, Jason Cole in the Herald writes, or maybe it was the Sentinel. I don't know. No, it was the Sentinel.
It was the Sentinel.
The Sentinel many years, and then joined the Herald with Armando after. Then he left.
Yeah.
So at the Sentinel, he writes his story about Gene Atkins, who was struggling badly, and he was over
hard-hitting safety.
Right. And at those times, the numbers for contracts didn't get out nearly as much. You would really have to know an agent. You'd have to kind of get into the system. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
The people in the inside know what the hell I'm talking about. And so obviously he was able to get it inside and get the numbers. And dude, Gene Atkins was livid that Jason wrote that story. And Jason's just there interviewing another player, and out of nowhere, Gene Atkins tackles his ass in the locker room, bro. And that place, it wasn't like Jason was fighting him or anything. It's just, separating broad, because Atkins was a little crazy. So yeah.
That is a true story, because I've heard that story.
I
know you know, but I'm just saying, I'll corroborate. That's a true story. Yeah, no.
One day, him and Armando wrote these pieces about Jimmy, and brother, I'm standing there on the field because Jimmy used to let us literally stand on the field, bro, all the way around the field, training camp, and everything. It was the best back in the it was so awesome.
A little different.
And so I'm there, and then Armando gets there, and then Jason arrives a little later than him, like 15 minutes later. The second that Jimmy notices Jason and Armando are there, he comes storming off the field, and he looks at Armando and Jason. He goes, you, come here. And he takes him inside, and he's just ripping into them and all kinds of stuff. And it was just a funny thing because, when you're a good writer, you're not going to hold back, bro. You're going to call shit.
You got to say like it is. No, I mean, Jason's a great friend. He changed my career from being a writer to a reporter. He used to, when we worked together at Fanside, he locked me out of our office with my laptop. And he's like, you're in the NFLPA system, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, go in, find the page with all the agents' phone numbers, and just start calling them. And I was terrified. I was like 27 years old. I'm like, bro, I don't know how to do that. He's like, just start cold calling them. Tell them who you are. Tell them you're not going to go anywhere and that they need to play ball with you. And to their credit, most of the agents were like, hey, man, okay, cool. I'm sure they were like, what the hell's going on? But like, it was Jason forced me to get into the news breaking side of things. And as comfortable as it was at first, like, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I mean, without him, there's no way I'm in Sports Illustrated.
Right.
But Jason, I'll have to tell him we're talking about him during this interview. But Jason was hilarious. But anyway, he was the one. He and Charles Robinson, when he was at Yahoo, they broke the story, and that was what led to all this stuff with the Heisman, trophy and Bush. But I don't want to speak for Jason. I would wager that I think at this point everybody feels like, yeah, it's probably best that it's back and in his hands. He deserves it. I mean, also let's be real. Jason and Charles did amazing work and got the story. How many other guys who have the Heisman Trophy sitting on their mantle did a lot worse stuff than what Reggie Bush did, right? Just Reggie got caught. Reggie was a little sloppy with it.
Some guy just passed away that allegedly was a double murderer. I mean, I don't know.
Same school as Reggie Bush.
Both slashers, except one took it literally. I don't know. What can I tell you? I mean, it is what it is. It's just, it's crazy stuff. So Daniels or May at number 2?
I think it's going to be Daniels. I would take May. I think it's going to be Daniels.
Okay. Yeah, I would take May also. Yeah. Did you see that article today that I found it funny. He wants to be the best running quarterback because, Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson. I'm like, don't you want to be Pat Mahomes or Tom Brady? Championships? Who gives a shit about being the best running quarterback? Yeah. I looked at that and I go, Jaden, my brother, like, you're already not even focused on the right thing. You're the me attitude is already taking, you only run if it benefits you. You want to win games. You want to win titles. And then last time I checked, the guys from the pocket are the ones that win. Mahomes is not running to run. He runs because I've got no effing choice. This is the play that my team needs right now. I have no choice. That's when he's running. That's smart.
You run because you need to. I think if you're playing the quarterback position at the optimal level. Now, granted, if you're Lamar Jackson, you drop back and, parts like the Red Sea in front of you, then sure, go for it. But yes, more often than not, you should only be running if you have to run. I look at Josh Allen as an example of this. Like, Josh Allen, I get it. I get that that's a huge part of his game. Like, how long is his career going to be, though? Now he's granted the man is the size of a linebacker, so maybe it works out for him.
He'll last like Cam Newton.
But at some point, man, I don't care who you are, that stuff adds up. And I say this all the time, and people always push back on it. But if you talk to people in the league, they'll tell you the same thing. I don't care how big of a quarterback you are. Those guys hitting you, those safeties, those linebackers, those DNs, they're bigger and stronger than you are 90% of the time. They just are. Like, those linebackers, like Allen's huge. Those linebackers are 250 and run a 4.5. Like, they're bigger than you, man. Like, at some point, it's going to add up. And I think the biggest problem I have with some guys who run like Allen is like, get down, man. Like, if you're going to run, fine, get down. You know, that is one thing I will say with Mahomes. Mahomes never takes a big hit. If you watch him run, he doesn't, unless it's a playoff game, and he's got to have it.
Yeah. No, yeah.
He gets down. He gets down or he gets out of bounds.
Yeah.
He does not take a lot of big hits. He just doesn't. Like, he will get himself out of bounds. Because, like, what's the point? It's week 7 against the Jets. Bro, just go out of bounds.
Yeah, dude. Plus, he doesn't have the body to be doing. Like, I get Josh Allen thinks, because he is big.
Dude,
but Cam Newton was his size and actually even better built.
Yeah, Cam was even a bigger dude. Yeah. I would. Well,
defined. It was like, that guy had the body that we all pray we had, because we know all women would be like, just in line, just like that. And the NFL broke his ass. Okay.
I'll give you another guy, not a big scrambler, Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Roethlisberger was huge. Now, he wasn't a big runner, although he could run a little bit early on in his career. But he would just sit in the pocket. And it was like, you basically just sack him. It was like the third guy in was going to be the one who finally, finished the job. But, like, look at how he was at the last 3 to 5 years of his career. He couldn't move. Like, he just couldn't play anymore because all those hits. I don't care who you are. After a while, it adds up. It just does. Like, if I'm Jaden Daniels, the last thing I want to do is run just to run. Like, I get it, man. You're super athletic and you can pick up yardage like that. And if I'm the Commanders and I draft him, if I'm Dan Quinn, the first thing I'm telling him, hey, man, you want to run, go for it. You better get down. Right. I don't want to see you trying to take on a linebacker. Like, and if you look at Jaden Daniels in college, he took a lot of hits, man. He took some massive hits because he wouldn't get down. That cannot happen at pro level.
And he will die in the NFL that way, And this has been going on since the beginning. Brother, you want to be Joe Cap? You go ahead, bro. You're going to take an effing beating if you want. This has been going on. You want to be Joe Namath? And you want to hang in there and be the tough guy and wait till the last second. He did it all the time for the Jets. He waited for the last moment. He was ironclad tough. And his knees were shot, his body. And by the time he got to the Rams, he was just mincemeat because he played that fearless game. And you know why Marino lasted so long? Because he got rid of the football. He threw it away. Dan was not going to be taking a lot of hits either, actually. He took some, but he was smart. That's why he played for so long. That's why his Achilles story he didn't even replace it. He didn't repair it and let it like that and just wore some boot because he just found the guy and let it fly right away. If you get that, then you can live longer. But if you want to be Mr. Tough Guy, brother, the league is littered for 50, 70 years of those guys, and they all end badly, bro. They all end badly. They all end beaten up. Doug Williams took a beating, and he was strong as an ox, bro. And he took a beating, man. It just tough guy quarterbacks. It only goes so far in the NFL. You're not tougher than them. You're just not, bro.
You're not tougher and you're not bigger.
McMahon, another guy that played like a linebacker. And, bro, you're a quarterback. You're not a linebacker. I mean, I've watched this since I was a child, bro. You just, there has to be a certain level. And when I see Jaden Daniels, I'm like, young man, you're not focused, bro. You're not focused. You don't want to be a running quarterback. You want to win from the pocket. I don't get that one, man. I don't get that one. What's it called? So how many quarterbacks go in the first round from what you're hearing finally? Because, down here in Dolphin land, we're hoping 87 quarterbacks go in the first 20 picks, even though there's only 20. We're hoping 87 go in there. Yeah. So what are you hearing?
I think there's at least going to be 5. I think there'll be 6. I think the question is Knicks, and I think he goes. I think he'll go. Denver is really interested in him. That has been known since the Senior Bowl. I mean, that was like common knowledge in January. I think the question is whether or not they take him at 12, they trade back and take him. But I think there's going to be 6. I think certainly 5.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Dolphins. I'm leaning. I don't mind. I mean, I would love Latu. I would love Verse at 21. I don't think Verse will last.
He'd be a steal. Yeah.
Yeah, he would be a steal. I think it's going to go more offensive linemen.
I agree.
Than anything else. But what do you think for the Dolphins at 21?
Interior offensive lineman. I think that's, Jackson Powers Johnson, maybe Graham Barton. Somebody of that ilk. If there's a real big edge rusher, like if Verse is there, I think they take him. Like if that kid is there, I think they take him.
How about Latu?
Latu is interesting. Latu. I think the big question with him is a lot of people are like super high in his talent. I saw him at the Senior Bowl. He was dominant. He was great at UCLA. The question is, you had a neck fusion. Like where are you? How comfortable are you on his health? That's the question most teams have to answer. Yeah, man. If I had to guess, I'll say interior offensive line. That would be my guess for Miami at 21.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. What do you got going on SI, my man?
I got quite a bit going on. I got a lot going on. So about 20 minutes ago, my 10 predictions for the NFL draft went up. I also have tomorrow instant grades on every pick in the first round. I will have my day 2 mock draft coming out right after the first round's done. My 5 favorite picks, my 5 least favorite picks. I got a whole bunch of stuff. So just go to si.com and go to my Twitter feed, and you will find all of it and much more.
And follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame there. Matt, as always, you're a stud, my brother. We will catch up next week, my friend. Thank you, sir.
Sounds good. Take care.
You got it. Matt Verderame, good stuff there as always. Love it, love it, love it. Acura Pembroke Pines, they got the Spring into Performance sales event going on right now at 15601 Pines Boulevard, just off of I-75 in Pines. They got a beautiful service center there. Mike Chan, Jordan Ferber, they do excellent work. They got a great little lobby there, great big lobby, actually. Great comfortable area, TVs, free water. There's a little fridge on the far left corner. There you can get a bottle of water if you want. They got a little cafeteria. You want to get un pastelito, sandwich, soda, snacks, whatever, while you're waiting for your oil to be changed or whatever it is, tires, you name it. They do it all for you there at the service center. And, of course, the Spring into Performance sales event right now, 1.9% financing for 36 months. So you can find out why Larry Schlossberg and the boys are the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. The Integra, $299. The RDX, $419. The MDX, $489. You can get these 2024 models, 1.9% financing for 36 months. And they've got a large selection as always. So get on down there to 15601 Pines Boulevard. Go see Larry Schlossberg, Pat Nasto, Tony Stampone, all the great people out there at Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. All right. All righty. Kyle Krabs, by the way, will join us at the top of the hour. What else? Let's get to our 3A Graphics sports calendar. Why don't we? Panthers last night went 2-0 in the series. Very important. Remember, you want to hold the home ice. It's not home free or anything, folks. You got to try to win one in Tampa now, or both, and sweep them. But you want to put some. Now all the pressure's on Tampa. They have to win both games at home. They can't come back to Miami 1-3. But you're Florida. You want to come back at least 3-1. So this is beautiful. But you're holding serve right now. So let's see what they do. They've won 11 straight games in overtime. Last night they had to go to overtime. They won 3-2. Carter Verhaeghe, as clutch as it gets. Huge goal. Beautiful goal. Bob with 21 saves. But that one save will be the save that we'll all remember, reaching back and backhanding that. That thing was just absolutely amazing. Thursday is game 3 in Tampa at 7:00. Game 4 will be at Saturday at 5:00. So this is going to be awesome. Tarasenko and Bennett, who got injured, by the way, also with goals in that game. The Braves What else? They blanked the Marlins 5-0. Max Fried fried the Marlins, 9 innings, 3 hits. So he's done. He beats the Marlins. The Braves are 16-6. The Marlins are 6-19. 7:20 Trust Bank. Marlins, Sixto Sanchez pitching today, 0-1 and a 6.14 ERA. And Reynaldo Lopez, 2-0 and a 0.5 ERA. A little bit of a difference there, Sixto. Anyway, tonight, 7 o'clock, Heat, TNT. Celtics are favored by 14.5 points. The over and under is 202.5. The Heat are plus 800 on the money line. The Celtics are minus 1350. What can I tell you? We'll see what happens tonight. Let's hope for a respectable performance. Bam Adebayo was chosen for Defensive Player of the Year finalist. Good for him. 9:40 tonight. Fly, Pelican, fly. Taking on the Thunder. Thunder are leading 1-0 in that series. They're favored by 7.5. The over and under is 210.5. Pelicans plus 270 on the money line. Thunder are minus 340. That is your 3A Graphics Sports Calendar. The great Alan Blanco, 786-618-1443, custom printing and embroidery. And I should get everything. I am meeting with him on Thursday, so hopefully the store will finally get up because I can walk and I can drive and I can, because there's no way I can put the store up and then I can't drive to get the product. I can't drive to mail the product. I can't do any of that kind of stuff. So now that my foot is back, not completely, not way, like yesterday I was walking on a downhill, and dude, my right foot got like, whoa, like, yo, yeah, be careful there, buddy. It was like, yeah, we're not completely healed there, man. Take it easy. And I was trying to go a little too fast on the downhill. And my right ankle reminded me, yo, my Achilles is still not all there yet. Relax, dude. You know, it kind of sent that signal. So I'm almost there, but I'm better. You know, I can drive, I can walk, but I can't go crazy yet. I'm probably, the doc told me I'm about another month to month and a half away from jogging. So that's pretty good. I'm getting closer. So that's going to be really, really good. I got to build up the walking now. That's the next thing. So there you go. By the way, last night, T-Wolves over Suns 105-93. The T-Wolves outclassing the Suns are leading 2-0. Pacers got back at the Bucks 125-108. That series is tied at 1. Even Tyrese Halliburton didn't have a great game and they still won. That was amazing. Mavs over the Clippers 96-93. That one is tied. And I can't believe it. The worst gambler in the world, Charles Barkley, was right yesterday. Because he, normally all those guarantees, you really go against Barkley on everything. But he guaranteed a Mavs win. So let me give him some credit because, first of all, I would never listen to any advice from Charles Barkley because I think he really is as lazy a sports fan as it gets. It's all shtick out there, and it's great shtick, but actual knowing what's going on, he's not really watching. He's just throwing shit out there. That's probably why he loses so much. I stop eating bread as beer. It's liquid beer. That's right. There you go. Josh Miller says, what's up from Seattle? What's the one way Miami irritates us all during the draft? Well, I don't know. I guess if they take a receiver in the first round, that would irritate the shit out of me. I would disagree with Jimmy Johnson. I was so geeked over the Sunshine Boys. What are we disagreeing about? You were excited. Right, but what's the reality? What's the reality? I was excited for Parcells. I was excited for Saban. I was excited for Jimmy. I thought Wayne was making the right moves at that time because those were the names. But what's the reality? So you disagree with me on after you you got him for 4 years and he gave you Wannstedt? What are you disagreeing on? He stripped Marino of everything. He traded away Irving Fryer, got rid of Byers and Kirby, and I'm trying to grasp, what are you disagreeing on? We were all excited when they signed him. Okay, but now you have the facts. Now you get to make the real opinion, because now you have everything, the totality of it. Nobody disagrees that you were excited when they signed Parcells, Jimmy, and Saban. But after the fact, what is your opinion? Is it different than mine? Like, you think Jimmy was good for us? Not exactly sure what you're going at. Druckenmiller or Lawrence Phillips or Jarris McPhailure? What are we talking about here? John Avery? What? No Randy Moss? What are we talking about here? After the fact, Cosa Nostra. What are we talking about here? I'm confused. Oh, is it me, or you forgot to bring up the OBJ situation with Matt? No, I didn't want to bring up the OBJ situation with Matt. Why would Matt keep up with that? Jeremy Fowler is an insider that keeps up with that kind of stuff. I'm not going to put Matt Verderame is not like going to be keeping up with all the minutia of every free agent. I'm not going to put him in that position, my brother. You know what I mean? He's more of a KC guy than that. He's a general NFL guy, but he's not necessarily an NFL beat guy. So you got to understand who you're interviewing. And so that's not really the proper question for him. You know what I mean? Because there's if Jeremy doesn't know, and if I don't know, I'm pretty sure that Matt's not going to know. Put it that way. It's not an insult to Matt or anything. It's just, that's not his beat. That's not what he does. He doesn't follow the minutia of all the free agents. That's not what he does. He's a writer, an NFL writer, and then he will report on things that he needs to go report on. But he is not going to be following the minutia of the Bucs beat, the Dolphins beat, the Rams beat, the Giants beat, and all. No, that is Rappaport. That is Fowler. That is Schefter. That is, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. Those kind of cats are the ones that have to follow the minutia of all the bullshit. Matt Verderame is a national writer. He doesn't do those kind of things. So it's completely different jobs. So that's why I don't ask him that, because it's a waste of time at that moment. And it puts my guest in a position that it's a bad choice by me as a host to do that to them. You understand? So that's kind of the way it goes. And so that's the reason why. So it's not that I forgot. It's because it was strategically, done that way. One-Eyed Jack says, JJ was a great coach for the U as Dallas, but major a-hole in Miami. He was on Inside the NFL the year before and slammed Shula all year. Exactly. And I disagree on the U part. He was not great. He had a great moment, but he underachieved because the Fiesta Bowl team, I'm sorry, but to me, that's the greatest UM team ever. And I watched Jimmy Johnson do the dumbest shit I have ever seen any coach ever do in the history of South Florida sports. Yeah, I said it. He watched Vinny Testaverde choke his ass away in the Sugar Bowl, which you could have been even in the national championship conversation on that one, even with the win. Maybe you would have won it. And then the following year, You were better than Penn State. All you had to do was keep handing it off to Highsmith. That's all you had to do. Nothing else. He was killing them. And he kept allowing Vinny Testaverde to pass the ball. So you cannot be great when you fail to do something so simplistic, so elementary, so obvious. Meanwhile, Shula said, the aforementioned game here on the show, Greasy, hey, baby, I only need you to manage the game a couple times today. Defense and running game has got this thing in the bag. Have a great night. Let's win the championship. Passed 7 times. Why? Because Shula looked at what his team was. In 1984, he wasn't going to pass 7 times because he didn't have the running game. But in 1973, he had the running game. And he said, yeah, no, Zonka kick, Morris, yeah, Kuchenberg and Little, and yeah, we're good. We're good. Come by Jim Langer. You know, my guys will handle it. We'll pound the shit out of them all day long. The no-name defense will shut you down. Why put the ball in the air? Jimmy was the one that said, when you pass the ball, 2 out of 3 things can happen, and they're bad. And yet the moron in the Fiesta Bowl kept allowing the 2 of 3 things to happen with one of the biggest choking quarterbacks in the history of mankind, Vinny Testaverde. Because as talented as Vinny was, let's call it like it is. Amarillo. And that is, in Spanish, choker, dog. Now, I'm not even, that could be misinterpreted. Because dog could be, Dwayne Wade and Alonzo Mourning. Those are dogs. Udonis Haslem, dogs. Let me not even do that. Let me not, and I'm a dog lover. Let me not even insult dogs, okay? Let me just do that. All right? I mean, choker above all chokers. Some of the greatest chokers in the history of all of sports. Vinny freaking Testaverde is in every conversation of the great. I don't care if you're talking Doc Rivers. Don't matter to me. I don't care what choker you're talking about in the history of mankind. Vinny Testaverde is right up there with the greatest chokers of all time. All time. I've never seen a guy get smaller in the biggest moments than Vinny choking ass Testaverde. So he was great in Dallas. He was good here. Not great. Good here. UM. And for the Dolphins, he sucked. Because not only did he not do anything and ruin the end of Marino's career, he then put Wanstead in place. So, I don't know, bro. I'm sorry. I don't have the same love affair that some of you have with Jimmy Johnson down here. That in Dallas, they should have that love affair. Here, I totally disagree, dude. Dennis Erickson accomplished more with Jimmy's players than Jimmy did with his own players. Marinate on that one. And notice how I said with his players, because he won them in the first 3 years. Once Erickson's problem was he sucked as a custodian. You know what I mean? He wasn't a good recruiter and custodian. He was a disaster, unorganized. But he X's and O's. Dennis Erickson was very good. Very good. Exceptional. He can coach. If you could get somebody else to like run everything else, you'd be all right. But you can't run it from Duffy's bar. Anyway, what are you going to do? It is what it is. Most of you on that one. Which is a good thing, by the way. But if you got it, you're laughing your ass off right now. Let's see. All Jimmy did was build a great defense, but in hindsight, he didn't do a great job at all. Well, dude, he built a great defense only for Wannstedt to wear it out. Counterproductive. That's like figuring out how to go to the moon, but you forgot you want to return. Yeah, we got here. All right. How the fuck do we get back? Sometimes, you know, when you want to get over the top in life and you want your home, your HOA, your business complex to look really, really good, you want to look sharp, landscaping is the key. And Cutter's Edge Pro takes it to an absolutely another level. William Quigley and the folks. And by the way, even if you have some landscaping now, you're going, hey, you know, I got some landscaping, but you're not keeping up with it, right? It's hard. It's hard work. They can do the maintenance for you also. And we are getting closer to hurricane season, tree trimming and removals. Let's get to it. I don't want you guys on ladders and roofs and risking your lives. Call professionals that are fully insured. And guess who's been fully insuring you on the ice? Someone that is going to be our Cutter's Edge Pro MVP of the night.
Who's last night's MVP? For your complete landscape solutions anywhere in South Florida, there's only one MVP. CuttersEdgePro.com. Here's our CuttersEdgePro.com MVP of the night.
What else? Sergei Bobrovsky. Bob last night, only 21 saves, but that one save is going to go down in history as game saving, maybe series saving, maybe title leading save for the Panthers. And this is only the second game in the first round. Welcome to the Stanley Cup playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. You are about to witness and experience, for those of you that are new to this, the best playoffs that exist in all of pro sports. It's not football. It's not basketball. It's not baseball. It's not the MLS. No, it's not college football. It's the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. The best playoffs, the most exciting playoffs, wire to wire. Why? Because the effort and everything is left out there every single minute of every time on that ice. And we have been very lucky now that we now have a great franchise, one that is headed in the proper direction, makes the playoffs now every year. And now they can be a part of these kind of moments that I see other teams be. Now we're getting involved in those moments now the last couple of years. So a lot of you that are getting on the bandwagon and watching, I want you to keep watching the playoffs. By the way, watch Boston and Toronto. Okay? Florida plays the winner of those two. So let's watch that one. It's tied at 1-1. We are rooting for a nice long series, and let's hope the Panthers can eliminate them. But Bob last night, they have won 11 straight overtime games. That's ice in the veins. Bob is playing at a Vezina type level. He might even win it this year. But more importantly, he's playing the kind of hockey right now that can lead you to a Stanley Cup. And last night, that save it's an all-time great save in NHL history. I'm not going to say it's the best, but I'm sure it's going to be one of those top 50, 100 saves of all time in NHL history. Bob's will be up there when they put up those highlights. Panther history, it happened last night. And I'm happy for Viola and Sifu, who have had the vision, the balls, the character, the determination, the commitment to create a culture and win. And that's exactly what they're doing for you guys. So great stuff. And they went out there and paid Bob a lot of money, and it wasn't working out early on. And it's gotten better now, and Bob is playing now like the Bob that we saw with Columbus. Last night was the Columbus Blue Jackets Bob that was there doing it for your Panthers. He's our Cutter's Edge Pro MVP of the night.
The MVP of the night is brought to you by CuttersEdgePro.com. Servicing HOAs, condominiums, townhomes, commercial properties, corporate parks, and malls throughout South Florida. CuttersEdgePro.com. Providing South Florida MVP performance every day of the year.
Baby, trading for Marty Booker. I know they traded a third-round pick. Was it for Marty Booker? Yeah. Or a second-round pick. And then they traded a third-round. No, it was a second-round pick maybe for Marty Booker. And then they traded a third-round pick for a Rams running back. What was the guy's name? And it was the Wanstead Spielman, it was all Jimmy Johnson. I just find that to be one of the most overrated things that we have in South Florida when people talk about it. Not in Dallas. He should be a god in Dallas. An absolute god in Dallas. He deserves to be a god in Dallas. It's funny. In Dallas, he wins 2 titles, and he leaves a team that any moron could manage to win a title because Barry Switzer, moron. But he left the team and the coaching staff, and all they did was just put a figurehead in place. And it's like, yo, dude, you just got to go handle the press conferences. Everybody else will do the work. And then Dion came over from San Francisco to help him finish it off. So that was Jimmy's team. I always attribute that third title to Jimmy, not even to Barry. Yes, sir.
The name was Lamar Gordon.
Lamar Gordon. That's it.
He gained 64 yards on 35 attempts in 3 games, was injured and done in Miami. And it was a third-round pick.
I know. I remember. It was a third-round pick. And I think for Marty Booker, we traded a second-round pick. Marty had some moments, but, the Lamar Gordon trade was.
And by the way, we traded that third-round pick for a running back who in 2 seasons had rushed for 526 yards.
Yeah, no, it's just. Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson left you that. He left you that. So while he built the defense, he left the guy that destroyed the defense, wore it out to hell because couldn't figure out the offense. So great job. Just absolutely fantastic job. My wife is a Tampa fan, and I had to hear it on their cup runs. My turn. You damn right, Robert. It's your turn. And by the way, your wife, she deserves every moment she got. She should brag about her Tampa Bay Lightning. They're a freaking great franchise, dude. They are what the Panthers are striving to be. And right now, I think the changing of the guard is happening. That's all. But it won't be easy because Tampa's great, man. They're not going away without a fight. They're a great organization. It's just fun that our organization is now getting to that point where Tampa's been for 10 years now. It's awesome. What they've done in Tampa is so impressive. So I never would diss anything about the Lightning. I have all respect for the Lightning. No respect for the Rays because they don't commit. They have a great minor league system. They can find some players, but you don't keep them. So screw you, dude. You never spend. So, and you're always asking for handouts. Who the hell are you people? Now St. Petersburg and Tampa are looking to hand. Why? But you people don't spend. You have good baseball people, and you don't even help your baseball people with money. That's exactly what what's this guy's name? Damn it. What's the guy's name that managed the Red Sox and then the Cubs? Jesus, what's his name? The GM. The young guy. Come on, man. Somebody help me out. What's the name? I'm brain farting now. Well, he said, he looked at it, he goes, oh, yeah, Oakland and Tampa, they're using Moneyball, but they have no money. So let me add Epstein. Theo Epstein. Thank you. Theo Epstein. Theo Epstein did that in Boston and in the Cubs. He saw what they're doing in Tampa and Oakland. Oh, yeah, that Moneyball stuff is good. The only problem is it needs money. There's a reason why Oakland and Tampa don't get over the top. Yeah, Moneyball, but like it's called Moneyball. And yeah, you're doing it because you're not spending a lot of money. But unfortunately in baseball, it doesn't work that way. You cannot spend and try to overachieve. That's nice. That's not going to win you a title. You need to add money to Moneyball so you can find the guys that are a bargain, but then you got to add some stars to carry those guys. So that's what Theo said. Yeah, no, I'll add money to Moneyball, and then I'll go win. And so he had that mix. All right, let's do it. Hour number 3, the great Kyle Krabs. Grinding the tape, baby. Joins us next.
Oh, great. You have a doorbell camera. Now you have a front row seat to your house getting robbed.
They're breaking into my house!
Ooh, there goes the TV. I'm sure it'll turn up at the pawn shop.
No, not the TV!
Just because you can see them, that doesn't mean you can stop them. With Slogans, you get 24-hour monitoring, a free home security system, and professional installation. Plus, free doorbell camera, one that'll actually work for you.
Get out of my house! Get out of the house!
Call 1-800-ALARM-ME.
Viewpoint statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
All right. It is time to grind the tape with Kyle Krabs, Locked on Dolphins podcast. How you feeling, baby? You feeling good?
I'm good. I'm fired up for tomorrow night, and hope everything's well with you. How's your foot doing?
Great, dude. I'm walking and I'm driving. I went to my first concert last night in months. So even one of my listeners offered me a pair of tickets for Journey and Toto, parking pass and all at the Hard Rock. And it was like my third week of surgery, and I'm like, my wife was wheeling me around, Kyle. So I'm like, I appreciate it, and I had to pass up on it. I would have taken it in a heartbeat. But you know what it is to get out of the car, and then my wife is like wheeling me all the way through the Hard Rock. I can't do that to the woman. I mean, it's just embarrassing. So I missed like 3 concerts that I really wanted to go to. And so I was glad last night. I had seats and everything. So it was funny. I had front row seats, and both singers told everybody to stand up, and I'm the only idiot sitting down there. So I'm like, yo, bro.
It's baby steps, right? So
exactly.
You're not going to rust off.
Yeah, I drove and I walked in, and that's accomplishment for me, dude. So I'm going to stay sitting down, rocking and enjoying the concert. And that's exactly what I did. Kyle, one of the things I like doing on my show, I don't like doing the micro, because the micro tends to make people panic about the moment, but you're not really looking at the big picture. And so that's what I like about, before we get into the draft, I want to get your thoughts on this, because this is what I've been trying to tell Dolphin fans. You know, you went on a run these next 2 years, this year and next year, where you hit on a shitload of picks. And you got to decide what you want to do. You're never going to be able to sign all the picks when you hit on a 2-year span like they did. So they decided we're signing Tua and the next wave of free agents. That's where we're going to manage everything. And then the next 2 years are the 2 years where they traded all the top heavy picks for the Jalen Ramseys and the X's and all that other stuff. And so your picks are later picks, and you may not have to re-sign a lot of them. And really, outside of Achane, nobody's really looking for a big contract. So you're going to have more flexibility down the line. And so you have to look at it on a macro sense, because this actually happens to every team in the league. You're going to have to make tough decisions. And the other thing I tell people is, look at what Chris Grier does. Don't listen to him. He pays tackles. He pays receivers. He pays quarterbacks. He pays number one shutdown corners. You know, he pays pass rushers. That's what he pays. Look at the class that just left. It's not really a tackle. From what I know from inside the building, they really still don't consider Wilkins a pass rusher. So they weren't going to pay him pass rusher money. Next year, your pass rushers up, your number one receivers up. It gets ugly all of a sudden. Yep. You got to start paying these kind of people. So for me, I try to explain the macro instead of the micro, because the micro has, it's a cap crisis. No, dude, this is part of the process. And if you look at the big picture, it's kind of set up for them over the next couple of years where, okay, now they got to be kind of tight over the next 2 years to take care of in-house business. And then the next 2 years after that, they're going to have more flexibility. Your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, I think looking at the micro is how you end up with the opinion of the first Monday of free agency was one of the darkest days in the history of the franchise, which is just like an offensively out of touch opinion to come away with when you lose Robert Hunt and Christian Wilkins to the tune of, what was it? $220 million or whatever it was for those two contracts that they signed. Right. So, I think there's a perspective issue that I think a lot of followers of this team, it can be difficult to have, because the past 15 years or so, there's not been a lot of continuity with what's happened. So you've always kind of been in the same two chapters of, we're starting over and we're trying to build, and then we're starting over and we're trying to build. And now this brain trust, this organization, this iteration of the team has kind of moved into a third chapter where you do have to make difficult decisions while trying to maintain the identity of the team and who you want to be. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Making decisions to paying Christian Wilkins and paying Robert Hunt means you probably aren't paying Jalen Waddle, and it means you're probably not paying Jalen Phillips. And as you said, there's very clear tendencies in what positions this brain trust and this football operation has an appetite to pay for in its premium position. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. I really appreciate you sharing that. Because that's been one of the central themes for me too, is it's like, look, this is the deal when you aren't hiring a new GM and a new head coach every other year for 15 years, which is what the Dolphins did for 15 years in the midst of the Patriots dynasty.
And here's the best part. I don't know if you agree with me on this. Okay, you lost Christian Wilkins. You got to kind of overcome that. Well, guess what? You in the first and second rounds, you might have that option of actually breeding a kid over the next couple of years that could end up replacing him. So you kind of have that transition. But the way I look at it, I think you got better at linebacker with Brooks.
You got deeper.
You got better at corner with Fuller. So it's like the first, you mentioned it right off the get-go. The first day panic, I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Can you just wait till they do everything? Right. And it's been genius. The way they've revamped the team is what people don't understand, actually. And then, oh, no, this is a setback. This is a reset. No, dude, there's no time for Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel to reset. They don't have that luxury. They got to win, dude. They got to win and get out there. And they're doing it. And then I don't think people understand the way they're going about things, and that's the problem. And you panic. But now when you, again, instead of the micro on the first day, now we look at what's gone on over what's it been, nearly 60 days or something, 45 days. Now the picture on the macro end looks a hell of a lot better, correct?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be applicable for the draft too, where we're going to get whatever pick they make at 21, and it's going to be the best thing ever, or it's going to be the worst thing ever. The draft is 7 rounds long, and you don't need to be ready on May 1st to play a football game, right? There's a whole other wave of free agency that happens. There's the other talent acquisition opportunities that are to be there to be had. And I think this theme would be good perspective to carry into the draft too. Now, if they draft another corner, would I probably be a little annoyed? Yes, absolutely. You draft another corner high after Cam Smith in the redshirt year. There's things that they can do that would push my buttons. But at the same time, get the full picture of what the full draft class looks like in every decision that they make, and then try to see it for what it is. And then look out across the rest of the league and see what else is available for veterans in free agency. I'd love for them to get another safety, for example. But if they don't, and they've got this post-June 1st money that's rolling around, I still got Quandre Diggs out there in free agency. I still got Justin Simmons out there in free agency. There's going to be options there. And I think that's some of the rumblings that we're hearing about for how the first round is going to go tomorrow night is probably correlated a lot to what free agency did and didn't have. We're hearing a lot of tackles early, like a run on tackles. And I know for a lot of people, it's offensive line no matter what, you know. But if you get 7 tackles that go in the first 20 picks, are you drafting a guard at 21? No, and I think all the same storylines about how Chris Grier and this football operation pays players, it's been applicable when you look at the history of how they've used first-round draft picks.
Right.
I just don't know. Like, if the offensive line board doesn't break well, I would not advocate to just draft the next offensive lineman because that's how you get yourself in trouble, drafting for needs and taking lesser players.
Well, but I think that's the beauty. I've been talking about this at 21 for them. They can actually get a pass. If all those linemen are going, then that means Verse, Latu, somebody fell to them there at that point, so you can get your pass rusher. Mm-hmm. And then maybe if you need your guard, you can go in the second round. The other thing that I was thinking, I was talking with one of the guys yesterday, that Jackson Powers Johnson is one of those guys that I keep asking around that they still think he could drop past 21. So if you
I think he's in the second round.
So there you go. So if you really like Jackson Powers Johnson, and this is what I'm thinking, you drop out of there, down, you pick up a third, right? All of a sudden now you've got your safety pick, which is what you're talking about. Second or third round, you're either getting something, either a D tackle, that there's going to be a couple there in that second round area. I love the Rohu, whatever the hell his name is.
Clemson, yeah.
You like him, the kid from Clemson?
Yeah, he's really toolsy, and he got a late start in football, and I think you could tell as far as just the polish isn't quite there yet. Oh, Austin Clark's one of the most well-regarded assistant coaches on this coaching staff for some of the work that he's done. Think about the work that he did with Zach Sealer. Think about the work that he did, first-round pedigree guy in Christian Wilkins, but nevertheless, the growth that those kind of guys showed, a guy like Rook, I think would be a really exciting potential day 2 add to that group for the tools. And the beauty of what they've done with all the defensive tackles they've added is I think they're going to be a very high-volume rotation group in 2024. I think there was only one player on the Baltimore Ravens interior defensive line last year that played more than 50% of the snaps. So you're going to have bodies that rotate through, and for a guy who needs to get his footing under him and continue to develop as a player, I think Orhoro is a great example of a player from Clemson who would make some sense as a day 2 developmental type. But I think you need more picks in that range if you're going to go that route.
Yeah. Yeah. And so many things can go like what you're saying. Like if a run on tackles go, and then you're like, okay, well then, all right, we love Jackson Powers. So let's trade back. If we can find a partner, pick up ourselves an extra third rounder. We'll get Jackson Power. And then what we could do with the rookie is we can play Jackson at guard, have the veteran Aaron teach him the calls, everything, all of that. Plus they're both agile. And as you know, in this system, now you can start pulling these cats all over the place, which is going to be absolutely fantastic for you at the same time. So you can do that then later on you can move him into center if you want down the line, since you have Aaron signed for a couple of years. And at the same time, you also have serious depth at that position for Tua. So if something happens to Aaron, Powers can kind of step in. So you can end up moving back if that run on tackles happens. If maybe Latu's injury history you don't want to take a chance on and versus God. Okay, so let's move back a little bit. Let's get him. Let's get an extra pick down the line. And now we could try to fill out the D-line and maybe the safety, at that point, because in the second and third rounds, you probably can think of a couple of safeties.
Yeah, so I think from an interior offensive line front, it sounds like Graham Barton, who's been a popular selection in mock drafts, it sounds like he's going to go before Miami gets on the board. So I don't think they're going to get a crack at him. I was talking to an NFC team source yesterday, and they said they think his clock starts in the early teens. And that's a testament of this offensive line run that's expected to happen, where you thought maybe, the Titans get Joe Alt at 7. That's the first tackle. Maybe tackle 2 comes off in the early teens. That sounds like you might get 3 tackles in the top 10. And then that's kind of putting a guy like Barton, who I see some parallels for tackle capability, but he could play center, but he could also play guard. You look at Peter Skoronski from Northwestern last year. He went, I think, 11 to the Titans as a guy who ended up playing inside at guard this year. So that's kind of the same range that I was given for expectation for him. I think Jackson Powers is a better guard than he is a center, just because he doesn't have the reps and volume. So I think that works out well to complement Brewer. I think what's interesting is I've heard I talked to somebody else yesterday, and they told me their team had him as a guard exclusive player. Like they weren't even interested in playing him guard. So that feeds further into, from a position of value standpoint, a guy that's probably going to not go in the top 32 picks. Now, I think Dallas kind of lingers there at 24. They need desperately a center. They lost Biadasz in free agency. Maybe they take him because they feel he's a good scheme fit. But I think all of this assumption about Jackson Powers Johnson being top 24 pick, I think it's out the window. I think he's got a pretty good chance of getting back into kind of the middle of the second round, maybe, just based off of if teams kind of universally say, hey, last year was his first year at center. The snaps weren't really good. I don't hear a lot of people talk about that, but there was Dolphins fans had issues with Connor Williams' snap issues. Yes. Go look with a fine toothbrush at some of the snaps that Oregon had last year, because he's rolling them back like a bocce ball. He's putting them behind the guard where Bo Nix got to reach across the guard's butt to try and get one in the shotgun snap in their own 2-yard line. Like that stuff exists on his tape. So I think that's a great opportunity if he does get into the middle of the second round. That can be a kind of player that I like Brewer a lot in this system at center. I don't like him at guard because he is a smaller player. He doesn't quite have the anchor. I thought his pass rush issues and pass protection were amplified in 2022 when he played at guard versus playing at center. So I feel like that's kind of a good chemistry blend. And if you get into an emergency break glass situation, he can play center. I just think he'd be better at guard.
And then the other thing that works out for them, again, the way they've designed all this shit, is that if the run on tackles, there's a good chance that you probably won't have a left tackle that you really want there at that spot at 21. There's a good chance you'll have a right tackle, a guy that can play guard or right tackle. Well, the beauty of the Dolphins, again, I'm thinking macro. This is what I try to bring to people on our damn show, is that I'm of the believing that Austin Jackson's athleticism, his confidence is soaring, and that in another year, he would be ready to move over to left. And so the youngin can come in and play guard this year and then be moved over to right tackle. And when Teron moves on, you can move Austin to left. I still have hope for Keon because I got excited for Keon.
He flashed big time last year.
Yeah, dude. And I told everybody he would make the team, and he made the team. And who knows? They may have a starter there that's brewing that we don't even know yet. Mm-hmm. But, that's so for me in the macro picture, again, to kind of keep harping on that, I think Austin Jackson's a guy that has the ability finally to play left tackle now because he has the foundation around him, the people that can teach him. And you always kind of looked at him that way, and his athleticism is supreme. So I just kind of think that they could be paying him the right tackle money for the next couple of years playing left tackle, which is a Chris Greer special, by the way.
Right. And you get into the macro and decisions and good economic outcomes for you. I mean, that's the Zach Sealer contract too, right? On the other side of the ball. You tried to negotiate with Christian Wilkins all summer long. You get the roster cut downs. Christian don't want to sign. Okay, we'll sign Zach for half the money, and he's going to give us more sack production and more pass rush productivity than Christian did anyway. So I think that's a great point as far as capitalizing on some of the positional versatility that Austin came in with from USC, being a left tackle, playing there early, playing at guard, playing at right tackle, settling in there, signing a right tackle contract in kind of the make or break year. Now they've got a ton of flexibility, and I think the floor does exist of that's an adequate level starter at worst. And I think he's still got a lot of room to get better.
Exactly. That's my thing. And now you have the right people teaching you.
Yeah.
To me, that's the key for Austin since he got here. He didn't have foundationally a great offensive line coach, an offensive scheme, and coordinator and all that. That's so important to all these guys. Look at what's going on now. They get the most out of anybody that lines up, pretty much. So I just kind of think like so many people think about cap crisis, and it's like, no, dude, they're actually doing a lot of smart things that will end up down the line, also managing the cap and saving you some money down the line. And I think potentially at 21, you're kind of set up that you could fill multiple needs without really going crazy. Or if somebody wants to move up, you might have the flexibility of actually picking up something extra and still getting a player in the mid-20s if you wanted to move down or late 20s.
Yeah. So I think their strategy at 21, I think if there's a player that's too good to be true, they probably stick and pick. They don't get cute there, which I would advocate. If one of the top 3 edge guys is there, if there is an offensive tackle that you have graded highly who can play guard in a short term, whether that's, I think the 2 Fs from the Pac-12, Fatanu from Washington or Fuaga from Oregon State. I think if either one of those guys or the edge guys are there, there's an intersection of position of need with really good value on the board with a premium position. I'd stick and pick. If you don't get that break and say Latu's there, it sounds like Latu's going to be off the board. So there's some momentum of him being a top half of the first round guy. But if he's there for the medicals, and the medicals scare you a little bit. I know Johnny Newton, the defensive tackle from Illinois, has a Jones fracture in his foot. There's a high re-injury rate with that, so it sounds like some teams have backed up off of that, but the tape's first-round tape for sure. If those kinds of things do scare you and you don't get that home run player, I'd love to see him go either way, right? You could drop back a few spots, pick up a 4, and then you have the flexibility to use a 4 and a 3 next year, knowing you're getting comp picks to come up into the 3rd if you want to this year. Or you can go big back and you can hopefully cash in on where the real meat, I think, of this draft class is, which I think there's about 20 players that you feel really good about. Miami should have a crack at one because of the quarterbacks that go early, but top 75, top 100, it's a really good class in that regard, and Miami's kind of lean there. So I think they'll have options. I wouldn't be mad either way. But I think that the words you've kept alluding to when both talking about the draft specifically and then from a macro perspective of how the team runs is flexibility. How many times do you get into since 2019, 2020 with this version of the Dolphins and they talk about what they want to be, and we want to be flexible. We want to be able to make adjustments on the fly. We want to have the ability to make decisions, to be aggressive when we need to be aggressive or when it's appropriate to be aggressive, or be conservative and transition and pivot. And this is just the latest step in that. And I think they've put themselves with who they've signed in free agency to be aggressive if they want to be aggressive, be conservative if they want to be conservative, and not be boxed into a corner because they only want to draft one guy because they have to get a starter in this particular spot.
All right. So if I asked you what's the realistic, because that's what when I talk to you, at least we're talking realistic. I talk to fans, hey, I want Brock Bowers at 21. Well, that's not going to happen, bro. Slip a crack pipe in front of him instead of a bong mask, and maybe we could get him at 21. But so who's the realistic ideal pick for Kyle Krabs for the Miami Dolphins at 21?
I think the best player that I would have ranked for the Dolphins that I think has a better than coin toss chance of being there at 21 is Jared Verse, the edge from Florida State. I think he's a 3-down defender early. He's got outstanding power ability. it sounds like Latu has at least 2 fans in the top 16 that I think he's potentially edge 1. I think the offensive line run pushes the edge guys down in general. Where does Dallas Turner go? He's kind of been the consensus top guy, but I'm kind of leaning right now that Latu is. I don't know where Turner fits in there.
Wow.
And that means Verse would be the third one in the pecking order. And I expect them to be there at 21 as things currently stand.
Wow. I wouldn't move. That would be, I would go. I didn't think he would be there, man. If he's there, I am going to go nuts. That's going to be absolutely phenomenal. All right. So let's get to the second round. What are the players that you see there? Because I actually see a couple defensive tackles that are there. Maybe you can also find an interior lineman there, a safety. So talk to me. What are the value players there at that spot for the Dolphins that you think are realistic?
So this is where I look at interior offensive line, and I feel like there's a couple players that would make some sense. Christian Haynes from UConn is probably the best outside zone run blocking guard in the draft. And there's some questions with pass protection and true pass sets. But again, if we look at the identity of what the offense is, and you talked about the right guys coaching the offensive line, and it's Butch Berry, and then it was Matt Applebaum, and then it was Lem Jean-Pierre, and then it was Steve Marshall in 2020, and Guglielmo in 2019, and Jeremiah Washburn in 18, and Chris Forrester's the first guy you go back to in 16 and 17 that's been here for more than 1 year as an offensive line coach. Butch Berry, their whole point of emphasis is everything looks the same until it's not. Urgency and explosiveness off the ball. And when you are a really good zone run blocker like that, it reduces the time under tension for you in pass protection. And they do a lot of boot action, and they do a lot of play action passing where you get to execute it like the run game. And I think that gives you enough wiggle room for a guy like Haynes, where early in his career, until he gets NFL coaching and continues to get a little better, I think he'd be an immediate upgrade over who you have in the guard spots other than Isaiah Wynn right now, which how much can you really count on because of the injury history?
Yeah.
So I think Haynes, I think Jackson Powers Johnson is somebody they could potentially sniff in the second round. I think he could be in the 40s, and that's one of those, we'll be flexible. Do we want to be aggressive if we feel like we can get him? I think Cooper Beebe at guard, he played tackle at Kansas State.
Left tackle, right guard, right tackle, right guard, left tackle, left
everything other than center, right?
Other than center. That guy's played 4 out of 5. I like him, dude.
He's a big-time phone booth guy, so he's got some good vertical displacement too, but he's got a little bit of tackle athleticism to him. So he's a real wide body type too. If you like guards that are built like refrigerators or your office desk, like he's got that look about him, and it makes you run a little extra around the loop when you're trying to turn the corner on him in pass pro too. So I think that's a sweet spot for guys like that. And I think because of what you saw in free agency, where you had a lot of teams that spent big time dollars on guards. And I think that's the one kind of storyline where the tackle free agent market was really bad. And now we're hearing we're going to get a really early run and a lot of urgency to draft tackles in a good top heavy tackle class. Teams spent big time money on guards in free agency. A lot of them. The Panthers, they gave Damian Lewis $13.5 million per, and they gave Robert Hunt $20 million per. And that's just an example. I mean, you had the Georgia kids, the Detroit kids. Jonah Jackson got, I think, $15 million. Robert Hunt's old teammate, Dotson, got $16 million for the Rams. Like, teams spent money on guards. I think that gives you a better chance of having some of the rookie interior players get a little further down in the draft order, where Miami would have one that would make a lot of sense for them to pick.
You know, it's interesting because when I watched the two players, they're a lot alike in the way they play their game, and yet the people coaching them kind of manage things a little bit differently. And what I mean by that is, and I know Teron was there for a while in New Orleans, obviously, but around Drew Brees, they were very center and guard centric. They always were focused on having very good center guard because shorter quarterbacks need the pocket to be really, really strong because they use passing lanes more than taller quarterbacks. Taller quarterbacks are able to see over the blocking sometimes, so they can see the whole play developing. Whereas what people don't realize, I always tell somebody, because a scout told me this 20-something years ago. He goes, I was at a bar with him, and he goes, all right, I want you to do this. I want you to get here in front of the table, and I want you to lean down and get under the table and put your hands under the table like you're a center. And I'm like, you want me to fucking do this in a bar? Are you out of your mind? And he goes, yeah, just do this for me. And so I did it. And he goes, so how you seeing things now? And I go, well, a lot lower. And he goes, so imagine if you're a smaller quarterback and you're crouched down, and then when you stand up, bigger people are standing up in front of you. How can you see everything? Smaller and this is way before Tua came to the mix. And he goes, smaller quarterbacks are seeing a receiver, and then they're seeing him disappear. Then they're seeing him reappear. Then they're seeing him disappear. Do you know how hard that is to throw through those windows? It is very hard. So it's very important to have. Now, on this team, there seems to be a real more focus on the tackles, not nearly as much desperation as New Orleans. So as a guy that watches tape, and I'm sorry if I put you kind of in a weird spot, because this is kind of a question that came out of nowhere. What do you see in that? Because it's kind of odd, right? Because New Orleans would probably do whatever they can to kind of keep that middle solid, whereas Miami's kind of playing with it a little bit, playing with fire a little bit, even though they kind of know what they're doing and they got good coaching and good foundation and all of that, but it's not nearly, you are taking some risks here, whereas on the tackle part, you're pretty solid. Overall, I can tell you got Keon and Kendall Lamb backing up these two guys, so you're pretty solid. So kind of the philosophy of New Orleans around Breeze, and then the philosophy around Tua.
I think the marriage there, or the bridge there, comes with marrying the Shanahan system as the running game that goes with that, where when you are a wide zone and outside zone heavy run action team, and then you build your passing game off of that, your guards, you got bumpers on both sides of you, right? You're going to have a tackle on one side of you, and you're going to have a center on the other side of you. And those guys are better athletes than you are. So you naturally have a little bit more baked in cushion. There's more bodies around you. You're not playing in space necessarily, where I think New Orleans being a little bit more inside and vertical run game, and then a little bit more of the straight drop back passing than what Miami is, where Miami moves the pocket for Tua a little bit more. Having the athleticism at tackle helps get that horizontal flow going for the entire front seven, because those linebackers see those tackles get out of there, and they know that we got to get on it or they're going to get the edge on us. And if Mostert and Achane get the edge on us, we're going to be in big time trouble. And that creates some of those throwing windows because of the pocket moving and the front moving to emulate run action and how they pass off of that, where I don't think that was necessarily one of the staples of New Orleans, where it was just that much more important to have an authentic interior wall, so we can drop back and go 5-step passing game, and we know the pocket's going to be good. I think that's the biggest difference for those
inside running with New Orleans, actually. Yeah. So that's because the focus is more outside running than inside running. So then that's where your strength was also at the same time. It's just that for a guy like Tua, I just think it's so important to have the center of that, your guards and your centers to be so stout, because you've got to give, shorter quarterbacks passing lanes, bro. It's just, just incredibly important. All right.
And
so
can I piggyback off that real quick?
Of course. Go.
I think an interesting subplot to that too is the actual personnel that Miami has. Connor Williams was a college tackle and was 6'5". Aaron Brewer's like 6'1". So you now your own players, your own bodies that are in front of your quarterback. You got 4-inch shorter player at center. The leverage is going to be better, but from a field vision perspective, you can't control how tall the defensive linemen are, but the offensive lineman, if he's blocking and engaged, is going to be closer to you anyway. So I just think that's an interesting little fold that I noticed. And I was thinking about Robert Hunt, who is, again, a college tackle, was 6'5". And I was really interested in them potentially bringing in Damian Lewis before I found out that the Panthers were going to pay him $13.5 million per. But he was 6'2", right? So it's like, oh, okay, like you can actually get your own guys shorter, more stout bowling ball, compact frames, and that can kind of help with the field vision a little bit too. So I'll be interested to see if they do draft an interior offensive lineman, if it will be a guy who is a little bit more compact frame, because I think that is an area that you can maybe help to as compared to all these college tackles that are now playing inside, but they're still 6'5". So they still have that vision element for your own players inside too.
And since you're shorter and lower to the ground, you're going to get more leverage under, which then you'll fold the defensive lineman, hopefully, because that's kind of the idea. Because when you get your pass block, sometimes it's the fault of the lineman who didn't punch to keep that arm down. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what they teach you. It's like, yeah, we're getting our passes, but well, okay, quarterback's got to watch that, but you got to help him out too by punching that guy and making sure you keep those arms down, because they don't keep their arms up when you're hitting them. They got to use their arms to protect themselves. So let's hit these guys, So it's kind of it's funny how all the little nuances of the game, you don't really balance it all out to really understand. In order for one play to happen, there's a shit ton of stuff that has to be executed the right way by everybody in order for that thing to happen, and all those little things. Like, I've told this story many times. I'm sitting there with an O-line scout, right? And this is a funny story. He goes to me, yeah, no, I got to work on this guy if we get him. Why? And he goes, why? And I go to him, why? And he goes, well, because he blinks on contact. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, I can't have a lineman to blink on contact. And he goes, why? You're going to miss the next spin. I need you to keep your eyes open on contact. Never knew that shit. I learned that shit, 20 years ago, going to places, because that's where you get to meet the people that actually coach this shit up. You know what I'm saying? And so like they teach you all these little things, and to make you a smarter football fan. But it's just funny, man. I was just talking about this earlier that, all the weight of the world is put on the quarterback. Oh, well, Tua's got to do this. And it's like, if Tua was greasy in 73, where he passed 7 times in a Super Bowl to win it, we call Greasy smart, accurate, great quarterback, all that. You know what we do to Tua nowadays? Oh, Tua sucks, bro. He only passed the ball 7 times. He got carried. If Tua was Woodstock, in 82, that I watched that too, and, they were mediocre quarterbacks that were carried by the defense in the running game, kind of like Peyton Manning in that second Super Bowl. Tua would get killed. It's funny how the double standard exists there. And it's just like we put too much weight on the quarterback in a game that ultimately takes a team, dude. Mahomes 3 years ago didn't have an offensive line, and he was assassinated.
Yeah.
In the Super Bowl, it's just funny like that, dude.
It's not the NBA or NHL where Bob can stand on his head and win you a game. Like it's very difficult to have one individual player, and I know that's really hard for grasping the game because of the dollar amounts that quarterbacks get paid, and you touch the ball on every play. So like I get it, but at the same time, football is a totally different beast because of all of the codependent variables, and it makes it very difficult, in my opinion, to have very binary, black and white, yes and no, absolute opinions on a lot of things, because it's the play calls and the execution and the route adjustment from the receiver based on the leverage of the specific coverage that you got and where you're supposed to bend that route off. And did the tackle set right, or did the tackle set vertical when he was supposed to take a short set and get caught up in your lap? And now you got to throw the ball around them. So the ball play, like every play. And that's why I love football. And that's why I love really getting into the minutia of the game. But it does make it extremely difficult to just have the absolutist. This is the case, 1000% definitive. It's this player or that player.
Yeah. It's too micro. We're too micro. And we're not really looking at the big picture, unfortunately. All right, so who's the player you want for the Dolphins in the second round before I let you go?
Oh, man. I would go – I'll give you a couple names. I have my own draft board up here. If you were going to go with a guard, it would be Haynes from Connecticut would be my preferred choice there. If you were going to go with an interior defensive lineman, I really like Michael Hall junior from Ohio State, big time penetration guy, maybe not the best sack production or like raw production, but first step explosiveness is there. He's got a little bit more length than some of the other twitchy guys as far as interior guys where you can get your hands up and disrupt the pocket. Or I think he's really good with his hands to be able to implement pass rush counters, where then I think about like Fisk from Florida State, who a lot of people are excited about because of how well he tested, but he just doesn't have the length element of his game. And I think inside it's paramount to have it to a certain degree. And then if I were going to go with a receiver, if they didn't want to go commit whatever they're probably going to end up committing to Odell Beckham in free agency because there was a player that's too good to be true at wide receiver on day 2, I like Ricky Pearsall from Florida there. So those are 3 names at defensive tackle, interior offensive line, and wide receiver is kind of secondary needs for Miami, or primary needs, depending on how you look at it, that I would like for them to go for.
All right, Kyle, tell them about Locked On Dolphins podcast, what they can do, brother, to hook up with you, sir.
Yeah, so we're on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. It's 5 days a week. This time of year, we're doing probably 8 shows a week, but 5 days a week for sure. And we try to really get into a lot of the same things that you're talking about, Big O, as far as the why. I love exploring the why. And when decisions are made, you explore why the decisions are made. You talk about how it can go right, how it could go wrong. But I'm not somebody that's going to sit here and tell you definitively, this is how it's going to go. This is what it's going to be, because you don't know, right? We just got done talking about all of the variables that are in play. But I really try to understand the thought process of how this team is run, what they try to do on a week-to-week basis in season. And you can find it on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
Nobody better breaking it down, X's and O's, and telling you about the heart and soul of the game than my man Kyle Krabs there. So he does an excellent job. Follow him on Twitter at Grinding the Tape. He knows his shit. That's the bottom line. He knows his shit. Kyle, much love, my brother. Thank you for taking the time. We appreciate you as always. We'll catch you at camp at some time, my friend.
Sounds great, Big O. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. There you go, Kyle Krabs. And we thank the folks at Welton Rayom for helping us out with the little draft coverage. Call them 954-966-4646. Bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury. Call my guy, Jeff Welton, Daniel Rayom, 954-966-4646. Let's see. What do we have here? Adewale Agunliye. Yes. Very good player. The Dolphins should have never traded away. Well, that wasn't good. They had plenty of defense. That wasn't their problem, Jeremy. They lost because they couldn't figure out the offense. Had nothing to do with the defense. Nothing at all. Okay. Hialeah Park, baby. You want $100, no regret first bet? You can get it right now. Use that QR code. Now, if you already have a Hard Rock account, I just want you to use a different email or a different phone number when you go on there. You go through the Hialeah website. You will be betting through the Hialeah Park website, and then, of course, a Hard Rock. So it'll, it's Hard Rock, but it's through Hialeah. That way you can get your $100, and that way you can continue to make your wagers. You got the NBA playoffs going on now. You got the NHL playoffs going on now. So if you want your free $100, no regret first bet, use that QR code. If you're listening audio-wise, go to Hialeah Park Casino's website, and then you can go in there. But you got to go through the Hialeah website if you're going to do it. If not, if you're watching, use that QR code right now so you can get your no regret first bet. Jamie Zorria out in San Jose, reminding everybody to smash it and the like button too. Okay. What else do we have here? Okay. Oh, man. I saw this story with Jaden Daniels, and I talked a little bit about it with Matt. But for those of you that maybe haven't seen it or just tuned in, and I wanted to kind of get it off my chest a little bit because I found it kind of stupid on Jaden Daniels' part. Really not get people like still don't get this game. Even the people that play the damn game don't get it. And so Jaden Daniels, who could be the number 2 pick in the draft, talked about, running quarterbacks. And he says Daniels, who ran for 3,307 yards and 34 touchdowns in his career, said he considers Vic and Lamar Jackson the greatest running quarterbacks of all time, but he believes he can surpass them. Says Vic was the first, but I think Lamar's got him now. I'm in the league now, so I'm trying to go past them. And, he goes, being decisive, that's a big part. Knowing when to run and when not to run, it's kind of just a feel thing throughout the game. You kind of feel how deep the defense is, where the rush lanes are, stuff like that. That just comes with playing football. And that's all well and good, and that's nice. Let me tell you something, Jaden. Learn to win from the pocket, my man. What did Michael Vick win? Nothing. Lamar Jackson pees in his pants in every playoff game. Because in the end, Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick were never great passers. Part of this game is, for a quarterback, all of this game is about being a great passer. Accuracy, timing. If you have anticipatory skills, that's enormous. Throwing people open, seeing through windows, seeing 2 levels. Those are things that the elite quarterbacks, the elite passers can do. They can make the simple pass every time. That's what the great quarterbacks do. Okay? They make the simple passes all the time, which it's titled simple, but it's just not. There are people that just struggle with a screen pass. You've seen it? You've seen the guys? Marcus Mariota couldn't throw a screen if his life depended on it. Still can't throw it. Just, if you don't have it, you don't have it. And this whole stupid shit about running means nothing, dude. Nothing. Like, you haven't learned a damn thing. You're going to come into the league thinking that you could just run? It's kind of dumb, to be quite honest. It's dumb. You don't want to emulate Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson. You want to emulate Mahomes and Brady. The guys that can actually pass the ball. One can run, one can't. But they both can pass. That's the difference. You're going to have to win by passing. Your running game will have to be so dominant. That only happens a couple times. It happens. Don't get me wrong. We enjoyed it years ago. Other teams have too. Denver Broncos were able to get away with a defense and winning one year. It happens. The Redskins, I'm now Commanders, but then the Redskins with the Diesel ran all over the Dolphins. It happens. Once in a while, you won't have to rely that much on the passing game because your defense and your running game are so dominant. Apparently, the Lions have a deal for Amon St. Brown. 4 years, $120 million, 77 guaranteed. Yes, sir.
Injury update on Sam Bennett.
Oh, yeah.
Per Paul Maurice, Sam Bennett will miss at least a week with an upper body injury and is better than originally thought. Okay. He used the analogy, injury was like hearing your car wasn't an accident, but then finding out it's only a fender bender.
Are you sure about that? Was Radko Gudas playing with a fender bender?
Apparently, they all play with fender benders, don't they?
Was Kachuk playing with a fender bender? See, that shit don't fly. We're talking about hockey players. Hey, you're missing a leg. Doesn't matter. I'm going to go out there. I can get it done. You lost 8 of your 10 fingers. Doesn't matter. I'm going to go out there and get it done. You have no head, no eyes. Doesn't matter. I've got a body. Let's go. I'll check anybody. Hockey players are completely different than every other athlete out there. Okay? Just no. So Paul Maurice, I'm just going to call bullshit on that, okay? All right? I'm just going to call bullshit on that because hockey players are maniacs. So what you call fender bender, he's probably playing with 3 torn ligaments in his knee. Okay? The ACL is fine, but the MCL, LCL, and the the lateral collateral ligament, the anterior cruciate ligament, the posterior crucial ligament. So the PCL. Okay? 3 of the 4 ligaments are probably screwed up for Bennett, but he's got 1 ligament left. He'll miss a week.
And the meniscus.
Yeah, and some torn meniscus with some bodily fluids flying around inside that knee. He's fine. Throw some talcum powder on it. Use the Gold Bond stuff. It's good. Anybody got that soccer spray? That thing fixes everything. You ever seen that? Come onto the soccer field, guy's legs fall off. It's all right. It's stuck. Guy goes right back on the field. It's amazing. He's concussed, wakes up, he's ready to go, just off and running. I wish we had that spray here in our houses. It'd be like Windex for the Greek. You have to watch my big fat Greek wedding. If not, you just references all over on the show. You just got to be, you got to be well-rounded here. If you're just like, all sports, Neanderthal sports, you may not get all the references. Just may not. And I know there's some of you out there that are just very Neanderthal. I just want to talk sports. That's all I know. Here, your sports, nothing else. You got nothing else with sports? I'm out of here. Let's see. Steve Young was the very best example of great passer run. Well, he learned. He learned. But listen to him. He learned that the running shit had to end. Steve Young was a maniac. Go watch him at BYU and go watch his early days in the USFL and the NFL. He ran too much and took all kinds of hits. And then he figured out, no, this running, the guy before me has all the titles and he didn't run. Yeah, I got to do what that other guy did. And then he won a title. Because he could always pass, but he had this bulldog running back mentality in him. If you're not old enough, I think you really need to go back and see what Steve Young played, how he played. He was a fearless mofo, dude. He was a nutbag. He had McMahon in him, and he learned that I better get that McMahon out of me. And it wasn't very smart of him, and then he grew. Hockey players are a different breed. Yes, they are. Big O's point about the Saints being very guard-centric is pretty on point. Tua needs more time and sight lines, just like Breeze. So these are things, but Kyle, what I love about having smart people on that know football like Kyle, he countered with something very intelligent. And he started talking about how maybe they're picking shorter linemen and then, which is pretty cool. That's smart. I didn't think about that. It's very good. It's, it's kind of like I'm an investor, and then I have the guy that doesn't invest, doesn't know anything about investing, but he's got an opinion. He has no idea anything about Bitcoin or whatever, and he'll give me like, oh, you got to watch out. That's not real. And I'm like, okay, what do you know about it? You don't know anything about it. So then where are your facts, bro? What do you got for me? So with Kyle, I give him something and he had a counter for it, an intelligent counter for it. You understand why? Because he knows his shit. That's the difference. That's why I had fun with Troy, because he's this anti-Tua guy and he's always got this spin. And when I realized he asked that question, it's like, yeah, well, I'll spin it on you now, you know, because you can play all the checkers you want on this show. This guy is going to play chess. You know, you think you can be a smart ass? Brother, you can't be more of a smart ass than me. You know, no, you're not going to be a bigger smart ass than me. Just not going to happen. So that's kind of where, and that's where I wanted to beat down Troy on his own weak ass point, because he's one of those guys that puts everything on the quarterback. And you just can't do that, bro. That's why I have the guys that are like, it's not Troy, but it's people opposite of him that are still kind of like him in the Marino era. Oh, Marino sucks. Why, bro? Because he didn't win it? So you're blaming him now. It's the same thing. I used to have that. Oh, no, Montana. Well, yeah, bro, of course Montana. He's great. I'm not going to take anything away. But do you see the teams? And that's where that's where I kind of, you lost me already. You lost me already on that. Yeah, now I know you don't know the game because you're just blaming on Marino. Well, bro, why didn't you blame it on Shula for not getting the running game? Not having an elite right side line and not having a defense. Didn't have a defense ever. By the time he got a defense and he was old, they took away his offense. What a tortured soul, bro, was Marino. Telling you, what a tortured soul. And I got plenty of he sucks and he's a choker and all of that growing up. And it's like, yeah, you're not watching the game. So, yep. Bill Walsh told him when he came from Tampa, you need to win from the pocket. Of course. Of course. It's how it is. You have to. You have to win from the pocket. That's where it comes from. By the way, H-Bar blew up yesterday. I've been telling you about H-Bar since it was at 4 and 5 cents. Now, I want to tell you something about H-Bar that I want you to, and I've mentioned this over and over for many people on everything. It went parabolic yesterday. What have I told you from the get-go? Never buy parabolic. You wait. Hit 17 cents yesterday. Now it came down to 12 cents. It's at 11.97. So when you see a run like this, you wait because there will be consolidation. And that was because of the BlackRock announcement and the money market account that they put on it and all that stuff, which, you know, we'll see if more action comes from it, which is great. I told you about the Feds using H-Bar months ago, all of it. I love H-Bar. I think H-Bar is going to go to $1 when it's all said and done. Yeah, I'm not a financial advisor, of course, but I think it's going to go a hell of a lot more up. But it was a nice pump, but never buy something on parabolic. Once it goes parabolic, you sit back and wait. If you want to get in, you wait for the consolidation moment. It will always come 99% of the time. Again, not a financial advisor, but it's so predictable. When you have a rush up like that, you had a 90% run yesterday, you're not going to maintain it. It's just impossible because a lot of people that got in usually are FOMOing in. They're not real investors. So they will get scared off really easy. And the guy that bought at 15 and now sees it at 12 or 13 is going to go, oh, no, I'm out of here. Instead of buying more to lower his price, if he really believes in it, but since he or she didn't study it, they don't know anything about hashgraph technology. They don't know that blockchain is different than a Bitcoin blockchain, than a Cardano blockchain. Hashgraph technology is different. It's actually faster. So, but it's just a whole different ball game. It's like I was telling a couple of friends of mine, we're in a different world now. The lingo is different. The language is different, all of this. And I'm learning it every single day. because it's where we're headed fiscally. Anyway, so if you're going to get an H-bar, give it some time there. Just watch it and wait for it to find the floor, because it might find the floor pretty soon. The other thing for Bitcoin, by the way, hash rate all-time high. And right now, to mine a Bitcoin, to mine one Bitcoin, it will cost you $52,000. It's a little cheaper than buying it, but just so you know what miners have to go through, okay? And when Bitcoin hits 74 grand, 8 billion of shorts will be liquidated, which will then send Bitcoin to astronomical levels. So enjoy the ride. And as I've been telling my friends, I am not a financial advisor, but I'm doing it myself. So it's not like I'm telling you not to do something. Don't stop collecting Bitcoin on this dip, you know, and then when it goes parabolic again, like it has four times already, you wait. What are we going to wait for? We're going to wait for the consolidation, and then you can get back in again. So you can take advantage of the consolidation after the pump. Stick with me, folks. We'll get you there. We'll get you there. Okay. All right. Let's see, what else do we have going on? Let's go with a little birthdays today. Joe Keery, TV actor, is 32. Kelly Clarkson, 42. And congratulations to her. She's looking great. Lost a lot of weight. Good for her. I know she got divorced. So that's kind of the inspiration when somebody gets divorced. They want to like look better. You know what I'm saying? I actually like Kelly Clarkson. You know what? I'll give you something to watch. MTV 2005 performance. Kelly Clarkson. That's all I got to say. Maybe one of the hottest performances ever. All I got to say. Just put Kelly Clarkson 2005 MTV performance. That's all I got to say. Just watch the performance, and then you can come back and give me an opinion, okay? Take you a couple minutes, 5 minutes to watch the performance. You got to watch it all the way through because it's an incredibly hot performance, but you got to watch it all the way through. Barbara Streisand, Babs, is 82. Ash, pop singer, is 31. Let's see. Cedric the Entertainer is 60. Carly Peace, country singer, is 34. I have no idea who she is, but what the hell? Sounds like somebody you might want to know. Ali Simpson, pop singer, is 26. Chipper Austin Nichols, actor, 44. Danny Goki, country singer, 44. And that is birthdays today. Music history in 1969. On this date in music history, Paul McCartney publicly denied rumors that he was dead. Thank God. I was really worried about that. In 1996, Stone Temple Pilots bassist Robert DeLeo made an announcement that singer Scott Weiland was in drug rehab and unable to perform at their upcoming shows. In 92, David Bowie married supermodel Iman at a ceremony in Switzerland. In 2000, Limp Bizkit announced the details of their 24-date Back to Basics tour, which would include a set from rappers Cypress Hill. In 76, Paul McCartney had his 5th #1 album after the Beatles when Wings at the Speed of Sound topped the charts. In 1990, Roger Waters' road crew found an unexploded World War II bomb while constructing the set for The Wall concert in Germany. In 76, Paul and Linda McCartney spent the evening with John Lennon at his New York apartment and watched Saturday Night Live. During the show, SNL producer Lorne Michaels made an offer asking the Beatles to come to the studio and play 3 songs live. The pair considered taking a cab to the studio, but decided they were too tired. It was the final time they were together. It sucks. I wish I could have seen the Beatles. That would have been absolutely amazing. Mega Millions. The jackpot's going to roll over on Friday after 0 players matched all 6 numbers during the $202 million drawing. It now goes up to an estimated $228 million. Numbers were 11, 17, 33, 39, 43. Golden Ball 14. Good luck to all of you out there. All right. All right. What else do we have going on? Kelly Clarkson and Billy Gardell from the show Mike and Molly have done great so far in their weight loss. Yes, they have. Yeah, he's lost a lot of weight, dude. A lot of weight. Yeah, but good for Kelly. Good for Kelly. That's good stuff. By the way, good that Reggie Bush is getting back his Heisman Trophy. Well deserved. I mean, this is something that had to happen with where college football is now. I mean, it was dirty then. It wasn't like Reggie was the only one getting stuff, but by now, and he's going to be, by the way, he gets his Heisman. USC gets the replica for their school, and he will also be invited to all Heisman events, and I'm sure he'll be part of the commercials and all that kind of stuff that they've left him out, over the years, which has been just a total dick move, to be quite honest. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway. Yes, sir.
Now I want to say it looks like they hosted a mini presentation for him. Ricky Williams was there, Tim Tebow, and a couple others. It was where they gave it back to him, and he retook the picture, kind of the Heisman picture. So that's floating around out there. Yeah.
Good. It's nice to see that, there's a proper ending to it. He deserves it. And college football was dirty for so long. He wasn't the problem for it. And so, you're punishing him for something that he earned, and it's just not right, because the whole system is polluted. So we're going to make that person pay when others above him deserve way more, punishment, and they get away scot-free. That's horse crap. That's horse crap. That cannot happen. Sorry. Remember, we're giving away a pair of tickets for Stephen Marley, okay? He's going to be at the Seminole Casino in Immokalee Saturday, May 4th. He's got a new album, Old Soul. So I'll be out there with the wife having some fun. We're going to give away a pair of tickets. You got to send me your full name, your email, and your phone number. Remember, it is in Immokalee, so it's in northern Palm Beach County. So unless you're willing to drive from the south, or if you live in Palm Beach County or St. Lucie, it's not a big deal for you to go. Saturday, May 4th, that's next Saturday, not this Saturday, next Saturday, at the Seminole Casino Hotel in Immokalee at the Seminole Center Outdoor. We'll have some fun. And Inner Circle will be opening up for Stephen Marley. So a little bad boys, oh, what you gonna do? Oh, what you gonna do when they come for you? So we're gonna have some fun. We'll be jamming a little reggae. So come on out and join us, man. And we're going to give away a pair of tickets. You can use that QR code if you want to buy tickets and join us out there. But if you want to try to win a pair of tickets, we'll give it away in 2 days on Friday. You got to send me your name, your email, and your phone number to my DM on Twitter at Big O Show, or on Instagram and Threads at Big O Radio Show. Send me the DM there that you want to go. We will pick the winner If we tell you you win, we'll tell you where to pick up the tickets. Okay? If you don't get an answer back from me, you didn't win, obviously. But I appreciate you. We thank everybody that tuned in, as always. Those of you that sent in a super chat, thank you. Cash App or Venmo, you can make a donation, Cash App or Venmo at any time. Cash Big O Show. You can even make a Bitcoin donation. Got a little dip. Love making a donation. Love Bitcoin donations, but Bitcoin donations on a dip doesn't get better than that, man. And where is Bitcoin right now? It is at 64,739. So a little bit of a dip from the 66, 67 area that it was locked in. So perfect time. Take advantage. Take advantage. Enjoy the Panthers tonight. We'll talk Panthers tomorrow. We'll preview the Heat. We'll hopefully have some guests. We'll get ready for the draft. And we'll do something on Thursday night also. So look out for it. We will go live at one point on Thursday night. All right, you guys be good out there. We'll see you tomorrow in the afternoon. Same time, same place, same bat channel.
This is the Big O Show.